Chapter 372, Lin Lang. The Lin clan is the number one clan of Qianwu Kingdom, and Lin Lang is the sole son doted on by clan head Lin, needless to say, the younger brother of Shenyuan Kingdom's princess consort. Even Emperor Mo Tianxue would have to defer to him. As long as he agrees to it, young master has nothing to worry about. The coach hesitated for a moment before nodding vigorously. There was no better solution for the current situation. Once this Zhong Xian passes the 2-star master-teacher examination, his standing and identity would rise up accordingly. If he were to pursue the matter that day, the Ji clan, despite being one of the 3 great clans, would not dare to oppose him. 2-star master-teachers, especially this kind of exceptional genius, possessed immense prestige and strength. On top of that, he was the senior of Pavilion Master Jiang with an even more formidable teacher behind him. Ji Mo didn't dare to exact vengeance, all he wanted was to find an influential intermediary to resolve the issue. And this Lin clan was the best bet he had. Yuan, let's enter. Waving his hands, Ji Mo Gongzi started walking toward the Emerald Pavilion with widened steps. Judging from how he was able to maneuver around the place easily, he must have visited here often. Soon, he arrived at a vast room. After exchanging some words with the guards at the door, he walked in. A sight of magnificence unfolded before him as soon as he stepped into the room. All kinds of gemstones were embedded into the vast lounge, and mats made from the hide of beasts filled the area. It was so extravagantly decorated that even the royal palace seemed to pale in comparison in terms of grandness. Furthermore, under the influence of a formation in the room, not only was the completely underground lounge not stuffy, it even felt like an otherworldly paradise. At the center of the room, a young man lay on a large beast hide mat, and beauties stood by his sides. Before him was an arrangement of all kinds of delicacies, and the smell of marvelous wine tickled one's nose. Sitting opposite to that person was another young man dressed extravagantly. He was holding onto a cup, proposing a toast with the other party. "Brother Ji Mo, it has been long since we last met." Upon seeing Ji Mo enter, the young man who was lying in the embrace of a beauty beckoned him over. "Lin Lang Gongzi." Ji Mo clasped his fist. "Come, allow me to introduce you. This is Kuanqian Kingdom's Prince Fei Xian." Lin Lang Gongzi pointed to the young man opposite of him and introduced the two to one another. "Prince Fei Xian, this is Ji Mo Gongzi from Qianwu Royal City's Ji clan. So it's Ji Gongzi. To be able to become an official painter at such a young age, I have heard of your great name even from Kuanqian Kingdom." Prince Fei Xian smiled. He was the prince who proposed to Mo Yu when Zhong Xian visited the royal palace. Given that his proposal failed, and guessing that Guild Master Liu would cure the guardian beast, he had turned his attention to the Lin clan. With the backing of the Formation Guild and the princess consort of Shenyuan Kingdom, Lin clan was a massive power among Tier 1 kingdoms. Even a prince like him didn't dare to act arrogantly before the Lin clan. Before arriving at Qianwu Royal City, Prince Fei Xian had already investigated the various powers in the capital. As such, he was able to trace his background upon hearing Ji Mo Gongzi's name. After getting to know one another, Ji Mo sat down, traded some pleasantries with the duo before diving straight into the topic. "Lin Gongzi, the reason why I am here is that I have something to request of you." "Oh." Lin Lang glanced at Ji Mo curiously. "Actually, I unintentionally offended Master Teacher Zhong Xian a while ago, and I'm afraid that he might come and exact vengeance once he passes his 2-star Master Teacher examination. Thus, I would like to ask you to act as an intermediary to settle this issue." Ji Mo Gongzi said. "Zhong Xian? You mean that famous genius?" Lin Lang poured himself a cup of wine nonchalantly. "That's him." Ji Mo Gongzi hurriedly nodded his head. Then, with a flick of his wrist, a scroll appeared in his hands. "I understand that it'll be hard to resolve this matter. I recall that Lin Gongzi fancies painting, so I prepared the Withered Pine painting from Elder Jin Mantang for you. I hope that you can accept this gift of mine." "Withered Pine painting? That's the last painting of Elder Jin Mantang left in this world. Even among 5th-level paintings, it is considered as a top-notch work. This painting is extremely valuable, and it is only due to the kindness the Ji clan showed the old master back then that he gifted this painting as a way of thanks. To be willing to give this to me. Not bad, not bad. Grabbing over the painting, Lin Lang opened it, took a look, and nodded in satisfaction. All right, I promise to help you on your matter. Thank you, Lin Gongzi. Jimo Gongzi's face flushed in agitation. It isn't a huge matter anyway. 2-star master teachers may be impressive, but they mean nothing to our Lin clan. He's just a lucky fellow who managed to find a good teacher. Lin Lang Gongzi waved his hands casually and said, when he's done with his examination, I'll send a letter to invite him over so that the two of you can meet one another and resolve whatever conflict you have. Yes. Jimo Gongzi nodded vehemently. If it was anyone else who said those words, he would have definitely scoffed. However, this Lin Gongzi did indeed possess the rights to speak such words. Even though the other party was only 3 years older than him, he was already a 2-star formation master. On top of that, just 2 months ago, he had managed to achieve a breakthrough, reaching Zongsha realm. To break through the Tongxian realm pinnacle to Zongsha realm, he had only used less than half a year. Even though part of the reason was that of the hulking resources that Shenyuan Kingdom devoted to the Lin clan, his talent still played an important part. Above all, he had the Lin clan as his backing. Conferred Kingdom Shenyuan Kingdom had 3-star master teachers in their master teacher pavilion. Even if Zhongxian could oppose the Lin clan, it was impossible for him to oppose Shenyuan Kingdom. No matter how talented and prestigious Zhongxian was, he was nothing before Lin Lang. Lin Gongzi, it's best for you not to get careless. I've heard of Zhongsha before as well, and he seems to be a person of great means. His talent surpasses that of even your kingdom's #1 genius, Mo Hongyi. Prince Fei Xian interrupted. Having stayed in Tianwu Royal City for a few days now, he was well abreast of the current affairs here. Zhongxian's feat of breaking the countless records set by Mo Hongyi was already a well-known fact throughout the entire city. So what if he is a remarkable genius? His cultivation is only at Zongsha realm primary stage. If he wishes to remain in Tianwu Royal City, he better keep himself in check. Lin Lang sneered in disdain. So what if that Zhongxian is a genius? Without sufficient strength, all of these were just illusory. After all, strength was what counted in this world. This was something that becomes increasingly apparent in the higher-ranked kingdoms. The stronger one is, the higher one's standing becomes. Without sufficient strength, even if one had great achievements in their occupation, they would still be looked down by others. That's true. Prince Fei Xian nodded in agreement. Then, he continued, right, there's another genius in the city recently. Has Lin Gongzi heard of Liu Cheng? According to the rumors, he is a teacher in Tianwu Academy. You mean Guild Master Liu who solved 19 questions on the Wall of Dilemma in the Physician Guild? Lin Lang waved grandly and replied, of course I've heard of him, he's indeed a talented person. However, his cultivation is too weak, being only at Tongxian realm primary stage. He's a figure that can be squeezed to death at a whim. He's nothing at all. Alright, let's not talk about these unpleasant matters in my Emerald Pavilion, we should have fun instead. Men, the food has already turned cold, change them. Chuckling lightly, Lin Lang commanded. Yes. Upon hearing his orders, a few servants hurriedly rushed forward and replaced those cold dishes with piping hot ones. All of them were wearing a hat, but one servant's hat was exceptionally low, making it difficult to make out his appearance. That servant glanced at Lin Lang, and dense hatred rippled in his eyes. It was Zhongxian's missing student. Lu Chong. Chapter 373, Sorrowful Lin Lang. It was no wonder why Lu Chong refused to say anything at all before Zhongxian. No one could have thought that his enemy was the Lin clan's young master, Lin Lang. The Lin clan stood at the very top of the 3 great clans, and it wielded tremendous power. Even though Mo Tianxue knew that it was likely to be them who poisoned the guardian beast, he still suppressed the news. From this, it was clear how much he feared their influence. Lu Chong was alone and weak, and if he were to reveal the name of his enemy, it wouldn't take long for those hoping to please the Lin clan to deliver him to their doorsteps. As such, he would rather act as a mute than to speak. The hatred only appeared for an instant. Before long, Lu Chong calmed down. To be able to stop himself from talking for 2 years and endure the excruciating pain from the tempering of the poison for the poison body said a lot about his mental fortitude. His chance was right before him, and he naturally wouldn't act rashly at this moment. The Emerald Pavilion might seem calm on the surface, but he knew that there were many experts hidden within. If Lu Chong wanted to make a move, he had to succeed in a single try. Otherwise, he wouldn't get another opportunity. After placing the dishes on the table, Lu Chong slowly surveyed the surroundings before backing out of the room. There were many experts in the room, making it an unfavorable location to make a move. Thus, Lu Chong decided to wait patiently for his chance. After standing outside the room for a long time, Lin Lang walked out casually. The wine of the Emerald Pavilion was specially concocted by masters in the industry. Even if a Zhongsha realm expert were to consume it, he would definitely fall over, drunk. At this moment, Lin Lang seemed to be extremely intoxicated. Featuring reddened cheeks, he walked towards the closest toilet in a wobbly fashion. This is my chance. Knowing that this was probably the best chance he would get, Lu Chong didn't hesitate. He slowly followed behind Lin Lang and entered the toilet as well. Who is it? Seeing another party walking into the toilet, Lin Lang, who was relieving himself, frowned. Who? Knowing that such an ideal chance wouldn't come twice, Lu Chong didn't bother to waste his time with words. He immediately charged forward and struck the other party with his palm. However, before the palm could hit Lin Lang, a huge wind had already been whipped up in the toilet. The violent shock wave from his strike came crashing straight towards Lin Lang. Zhongsha realm intermediate stage? Narrowing his eyes, Lin Lang immediately woke up from his drunken stupor. Not only was the person who assaulted him a Zhongsha realm expert, he even reached Zhongsha realm intermediate stage. Experts of these level were all famous and respectable figures in Tianwu Royal City. Little did he expect that one of them would disguise as a servant to assassinate him. Lu Chong might have suffered pain worse than death itself by rubbing all of the poison on his acupoints. It had brought him gigantic benefits as well. Not only did he manage to break through Zhongsha realm, his strength had even reached the level comparable to a Zhongsha realm intermediate stage expert. You're courting death. Bellowing coldly, Lin Lang immediately raised his palms to receive the other party's assault. Peng! Peng! The two palms struck one another, and both sides retreated a single step from the collision. Lu Chong's face darkened. 2 years ago, when the other party slaughtered his entire clan, he was only a Tongxian realm primary stage. Lu Chong thought that even if the other party were to improve swiftly, he would only be at Tongxian realm pinnacle at best. Yet, to think that Lin Lang was at Zhongsha realm intermediate stage as well. However, there was no path of retreat now. If Lu Chong fails to kill the other party today, he would be killed instead. Narrowing his eyes, Lu Chong drove his poison body to the limits of its ability and charged forward, sending consecutive swift and powerful palms straight at Lin Lang. Damn it! Even though Lin Lang had reached Zhongsha realm intermediate stage, it was mostly due to the forceful nourishment from the consumption of various pills. His cultivation hadn't been perfectly reinforced yet, causing him to be unable to bring out the full strength of a Zhongsha realm intermediate stage cultivator. Under such conditions, how could he withstand Lu Chong's tenacious attacks? He could only retreat continuously. Putong! Retreating backward, Lin Lang's legs suddenly caved in and he fell down. The next moment, an overpowering stench immediately rushed up his nose, causing him to feel faint-headed in an instant. Lowering his head to take a look, he realized that he had been forced to a fecal drain under the relentless attack of the other party. Damn you! Lin Lang had always abhorred dirtiness. Falling into the fecal pit had left his mind in a state of frenzy. Furious, a vicious streak was triggered within him, and with a furious roar, he charged at the other party without a second thought. However, before he could reach the other party, Lu Chong had already sent a kick into his face, planting his face right into the fecal drain. To make things worse, since Lin Lang was in the midst of shouting, feces were stuffed right into his opened mouth. I will kill you. Lin Lang was on the brink of going insane. How could the number 1 gongzi of Tianwu Royal City, a person of such prestigious standing that even Mo Tianxue had to defer to, suffer such a setback from an anonymous opponent? Rage bubbled inside his chest. Putong! Before he could finish his words, his head was pushed right back into the fecal pit yet again, causing the brown liquid to smudge over his entire face and mouth. Lin Lang Gongzi, The lady you presented me with is indeed not bad. Her figure and that sensation. Just as Lin Lang was being suffocated in the brown liquid, an intoxicated voice sounded, and Jimo Gongzi walked in. Peng. Possessing only the strength of a Pishua realm, how could he be a match for Lu Chong? Before he could finish his sentence, the sight before him blurred, and he fell into the fecal drain as well. The heck? Who dares to hit me? Do you know who I am? Jimo Gongzi howled furiously. This was Emerald Pavilion, the grandest place in Tianwu Royal City, an establishment of the Lin clan's young master, Lin Lang. Who would be so audacious as to lay a hand on him here? Was that person so tired of living as to offend the Lin clan? Putting aside the Lin clan, Ji Mo was the son of the Ji clan's clan head. Although his standing couldn't hold a candle to Zhongshe, he wasn't someone anyone could simply offend. Infuriated, he hurled insults furiously. However, halfway through his words, he saw a person blowing bubbles right beside him as a pungent stench attacked his nostrils. That person's face was absurdly pale and bruises filled his body. It seemed as though he was on the verge of breathing his last. Who else could it be other than Lin Lang? You actually dare to lay your hands on young Master Lin? Jimo Gongzi was on the verge of going insane. He had just threatened the other party with his own standing when he saw Lin Lang getting pummeled as well. The Lin clan only had this male offspring. Laying one's hands on him was equivalent to waging a war against the entire Lin clan. This was an act of suicide. Hurriedly lifting his head, he saw a young man stepping on Lin Lang's body, leaving the latter incapable of retaliation at all. It seemed like Ji Mo had happened to walk in at a bad timing. No. If Lin Lang were to be killed, I'll be doomed as well. Ji Mo understood how severe this matter was. He had come here to look for Lin Lang, and the other party had ended up being killed in the toilet. Putting aside whether this mysterious assassin would be willing to let him go, even if he were to survive this ordeal, it would be difficult for him to withstand the wrath of the Lin clan. In the worst-case scenario, the entire Ji clan might even be annihilated. The heck, why do I have to meet with this kind of misfortune? Even if you want to kill Lin Lang, can't you do it when I'm not around? Why did I have to happen to come to the toilet at this moment? If he were to die now, it'll be as though I have stained my pants with mud. I'll be in deep shit even if it isn't shit. More importantly, it's one thing to kill the other party, but what did you mean by kicking the other party into the fecal drain? Lin Lang Gongzi had always paid careful attention to his image and had always assumed a gentlemanly facade before others that attracted many female fans. Yet, at this moment, a fetid odor was lingering around him while his white shirt had been stained yellow. To make matters worse, the overwhelming scent was causing the food that he just ate to threaten to rise up his throat. Ji Mo clenched his jaws and whipped up his determination. Let go of young Master Lin. Knowing that he couldn't allow Lin Lang to die now, Jimo Gongzi charged straight at the mysterious young man. Peng! Before he could finish his words, a leg met up with his face, causing him to be smashed into the walls of the toilet. Blood trickled down his mouth and nose. Even though he failed to stop the other party, he managed to vie for sufficient time for Lin Lang to wake up. Injured and humiliated, Lin Lang was on the verge of erupting. I had not intended to use this item at all. However, since it has come down to this, I want you dead. Roaring furiously, Jimo whipped his wrist, and a palm-sized circular plate appeared in his palm. Formation plate? Upon seeing the object the other party took out frenziedly, Lu Chong's eyes narrowed. He had heard of this item from his older sister before. It was called a formation plate. It was a method of compressing a formation into a small special jade plate. By triggering the jade plate, the formation inscribed on it would be activated, trapping or even killing one's enemies. In addition, one could trigger a formation plate even if one wasn't a formation master. However, formation plates were extremely valuable, and each of them was worth a huge fortune. There was less than a handful of it even in Tianwu Kingdom. As a 2-star formation master, the son of the Formation Master Guild Master, and the younger brother of Shenyuan Kingdom's princess consort, it wasn't surprising for Lin Lang to possess this kind of survival meme on him. This isn't good. Lu Chong knew that a formation would immediately cover the surroundings as soon as it is triggered. Even though the might of a formation plate was inferior to that of a normal formation, it was still more than sufficient to trap a person who knew nothing about formations at all like Lu Chong. The moment Lu Chong was trapped, not only would he be unable to kill Lin Lang, his life might even be in danger. For the sake of exacting vengeance for his clan, he mustn't die. Retreat. Without any hesitation, Lu Chong dashed out. In just half a breath, he was already at the entrance of the Emerald Pavilion. Dressed in the attire of a servant, everyone thought that he was a servant whom young Master Lin Lang had entrusted an urgent matter to. As such, he was able to make the escape quickly without much obstruction. Wang. As soon as he left the Emerald Pavilion, he felt an intense burst of spiritual energy behind him, and a layer of mist seemed to envelop the infrastructure. The formation plate had already been triggered. I should hurry up and leave. Knowing that it wouldn't take long before the Lin clan sent men after him, Lu Chong didn't dare to stop here. In the blink of an eye, he blended into the crowd and disappeared from the watchful eyes of others. Having escaped from the Lin clan's pursuit once, he had learned how to prevent anyone from tracking him down, and he knew how he should act so as to avoid detection. Why was a formation triggered? Did something happen? This is the formation plate that young master brings along with him everywhere. Damn it, young master is in trouble. As soon as Lu Chong left, an uproar broke out in the Emerald Pavilion. The personal bodyguards of the young master immediately recognized that the abnormality originated from the formation plate that their young master always carried around. To go to the extent of even triggering his final mean for survival, he must be facing grievous danger. Hurry up and inform the old master. The formation spanned over the entire Emerald Pavilion, and most of the guards here lacked knowledge about formations. Thus, they didn't dare to move around recklessly. Even so, they had a special communication device. It didn't take long for the news to reach clan head Lin Ruotian. What happened? Why would Langer trigger the formation plate? With eyes as cold as ice, Lin Ruotian inquired with a steeled face. You better hope that Langer is all right. If something goes wrong, all of you will be buried along with him. Glancing at the bodyguards coldly, Lin Ruotian walked into the Emerald Pavilion. Even though the still active formation plate made it difficult for one to discern direction, as a 3-star formation master, Lin Ruotian was able to maneuver around it with ease. Walking straight towards the core of the formation, it didn't take long before he reached the toilet. Why would it be here? Lin Ruotian was perplexed. Hurry up and find the young master. The few guards hurriedly dived in upon hearing their master's instructions. A moment later, a swollen-faced fellow who was emanating a putrid stench was brought before Lin Ruotian. As the state of the other party registered in his eyes, Lin Ruotian was taken aback. He almost couldn't recognize his own son. Isn't the place Lin Lang opened supposed to be a place to eat and drink? Why did he fall inside the fecal drain? Who was it? Go find the culprit. Even if you have to turn Tianwu Royal City upside down, you better bring the culprit to me. Soon, after understanding the situation, a furious bellow pierced through the air, shaking even the clouds. Chapter 374, Tianwu Kingdom's Book Collection Vault Tianwu Academy, Zhongxian's classroom. After instructing Mu Xueqing on several matters, he commenced his lesson. The Eye of Insight had significantly augmented his ability to impart relevant knowledge to others. In the past, he had to tap into the abilities of the Library of Heaven's Path to determine the flaws of Meng Dao and the others so as to guide and correct their cultivation methods. But now, all he needed to do was to expend a sliver of his soul depth to understand the problems the other party met during cultivation and offer the most accurate solution for it. This is the strength of a master teacher. Zhongxian's eyes glowed. Initially, Zhongxian had thought that master teachers were more of a title than anything else. Even though he had become a teacher, he didn't have a clear concept of what it was. After coming to an epiphany, his understanding of the occupation had reached higher heights. Every single action and gesture of his seemed to carry the disposition befitting of a teacher, and the slight sense of disharmony from before disappeared without a trace. With the Eye of Insight, even without the Library of Heaven's Path, he could easily peer into the essence of anything. He no longer needed to knock a person out or have him display a battle technique for everything. Even though the information he could obtain through the Eye of Insight wasn't as in-depth and detailed as that from the Library of Heaven's Path, and he still couldn't peer into the information of those possessing a cultivation higher than his, it was already a good start. As he grew stronger and his knowledge broadened, his eye of insight would continue to grow more and more formidable. Compared to the past when he had to intentionally feign the role of a master teacher, his actions now seemed to carry the natural grace of a master teacher, fitting him perfectly into the ideal concept of a master teacher. Very soon, he finished his lesson, but his students seemed to be drunk on his words. They felt their cultivation leaping, and it seemed as though they would achieve a breakthrough at any moment. In the past, when they attended lessons, they had to force themselves to learn. As time went by, some of them even began to detest attending lessons. However, after Liu Laroche became their teacher, they began to look forward to classes instead. Every single lesson made them feel as though they were drinking a barrel of divine wine, sending a surge of fresh air to all of them. Unknowingly, their trust toward him slowly but steadily deepened. "Teacher, Princess Mo Yu wishes to meet with you." As soon as the lesson ended, Meng Dao immediately walked forward. "Yuan." Nodding his head, Zhongxian walked out. Upon seeing Zhongxian, Mo Yu smiled gently, and for a moment, it seemed as though a field of flowers had bloomed. "Liu Laroche, didn't you say that you wished to browse through the book collection vault of the kingdom? My father has asked me to invite you over." Back then, when Zhongxian was treating the guardian beast, he brought up a request to browse through the kingdom's book collection vault. However, the duel between the two of his students occurred and he ended up missing the opportunity. Since there was nothing on at the moment, Mo Yu decided to come over to extend her invitation. This was a show of goodwill from the royal family, as well as Mo Yu's way of apologizing to him for hiding the matter regarding Zhao Yue and Mu Xueqing's duel. Yes. Zhongxian agreed to it. Lu Chong had disappeared to exact his vengeance while Zhao Yue was in the midst of awakening her unique constitution. He was only meeting Mo Hongyi tomorrow to head to the Master Teacher Pavilion together to end the Master Teacher examinations, so he had nothing to do at the moment. Thus, he decided to make good use of this time to broaden his knowledge through the books of the kingdom's book collection vault. With Mo Yu leading the way, the duo soon arrived at the book collection vault. "This is our kingdom's book collection vault. In it is the huge collection Tianwu Kingdom had gathered over the course of 1,000 years. There are no books that you are seeking that you will not find inside," Mo Yu introduced. "Yuan." Zhongxian nodded his head. Tianwu Kingdom had more than 1,000 years behind it, and its collection reflected its long heritage. To Zhongxian, the genre didn't matter, what mattered was quantity. In terms of books, Zhongxian was probably the least picky reader in the world. If anyone else were to know his thoughts, they would definitely spurt blood on the spot. No matter how capable a master teacher is, even if he possesses photographic memory, browsing through 10,000 books is the maximum one could do in a day. Not to mention, a human's vitality is limited. One would have no choice but to read selectively. On top of that, different books were written from different people, and as such, they contained different concepts and content. Often were the explanations in different books contradictory, making it extremely difficult for one to determine truth from false. If one were to absorb the thoughts of many different people without bias, it would just make one confused and lost. Thus, reading more books wasn't necessarily beneficial. Rather, one had to pick their books properly to pile up on their knowledge. Only this way would one's understanding of a topic deepen. Flipping through books randomly could cause one's mind to fall into chaos, and their cultivation might even go berserk due to this. But Zhongxian was an exception. All books recorded in the Library of Heaven's Path would have their errors and flaws pointed out clearly. What that would have perplexed others meant nothing to him at all. Walking into the book collection vault, Zhongxian took a brief glance and saw countless towering bookshelves erected all over the room. The number of books in here seemed to exceed 10 million. "What kind of books are you interested in? I'll bring you there." Smiling, Mo Yu asked politely. The reason why she was considered a genius was because of the humongous quantity of books that she had browsed through. Ever since learning how to read when she was 6, she would spend at least 2 hours reading here every day. It would be no exaggeration to say that she was the most knowledgeable among her peers. At the same time, this had also given her a clear idea of the layout of this gigantic library. Despite the hulking number of books here, she could still roughly point out the bookshelves of where the books one wanted to find was. You should get along with whatever you intend to do. I can find the books that I want by myself, so I won't trouble your highness on that. Besides, I prefer a quiet environment when I'm reading, so. Zhongxian said with an apologetic look. His way of reading books was simply too astounding. Just by running around the library, he could record the contents of the books into his head. If anyone else were to see it, they would definitely take him to be a lunatic. As such, he felt that it would be best for him to be alone while doing it. All right, I'll be going out now then. Seeing that the other party didn't require her help, Mo Yu left the room slightly disappointed. She felt that her charms were completely meaningless before this young man. Men of her age group would naturally find themselves allured by her looks, and they would try all means to perform and brag before her. Yet, this fellow seemed completely nonchalant to her presence, treating her as though she was merely a part of the background. Sometimes, she couldn't help but feel dismayed by Zhongxian's response, or more exactly, lack of response. Could it be that he was uninterested in women? Could he be impotent? Cough cough. Princess Mo Yu's face flushed. Given how capable the other party was as a physician, even if he was impotent, he would surely be able to treat himself. So, it must be that her charms weren't sufficient to attract the other party. After all, the other party was a genius who even Mo Hongyi couldn't compare up to. He must have high demands for his other half. Even though Mo Yu thought that she wasn't a bad candidate as a partner, that was probably limited to the sphere of a Tier 1 kingdom. The other party probably had his eyes set even further, so it's only normal for him to not be interested in her. Understanding all of these, she glanced regretfully at the young man, whose head was lowered in contemplation, before turning around to leave. Mo Tianxue had asked her to look for means to strike up connections with Zhongxian and Guild Master Liu, and it would be best if she could make one of them her future partner. But from the looks of it now, it was definitely impossible. If Zhongxian were to know of her thoughts, he would definitely shake his head. Rather than a lack of interest in beautiful ladies, Zhongxian just hadn't met one who moved his heart. Mo Yu might be pretty, but could she be prettier than Zhao Ya? On the other hand, the latter was his student, so that was out of question too. Besides, he had spent his previous life in the digital age. What kind of beauty hadn't he seen before? He had long built up a strong immunity to physical charm. More importantly, he had just arrived at a foreign world, and he hadn't truly come to terms with it yet. On top of that, there was a lethal poison within him that was threatening to blow up if he didn't reach the level of a 9-star master teacher before 30. Given the threat on his life, how could he be in the mood to pursue romance? I should begin now. Seeing that Mo Yu had left and he was the only person remaining in the book collection vault, Zhongxian breathed out deeply. He walked over to the first shelf, placed a finger on the first book, and started running. Hualalala. Under his touch, row after row of books appeared on the shelves of the Library of Heaven's Path. Having reached Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle, as well as the strengthening of his soul, his rate of collection increased significantly. In a silent alley, Lu Chong stopped and panted heavily. After leaving Emerald Pavilion, he changed into a fresh set of clothes, changed his hairstyle, and hid his aura. He thought that he was already safe, but somehow, the men from Lin Clan still managed to find him. He had escaped from them several times already, and in the midst, he had tried changing into many different sets of clothes, but the other party was still able to track him down each time. I have made sure to conceal my appearance back in the Emerald Pavilion, and during my escape, I made sure to stay out of open places as well. How could they still find me so quickly each time? Lu Chong frowned doubtfully. Despite his young age, he had undergone a near-death experience before, and because of it, he had learned how to escape from one's pursuers. Even though he had grown significantly stronger under Liu Laosh's guidance, he didn't act recklessly. This assassination plot was actually carefully planned and refined over a long period of time. He had made sure not to catch anyone's attention in the Emerald Pavilion, and he was certain that no one had seen his face during the time he was there. So, how could his pursuers still find him each time? I can't allow this situation to continue on like that. Lu Chong's complexion was incredibly awful. With his strength and wariness, he successfully evaded his pursuers several times. However, he knew that continuing on like this wasn't a solution. Given how relentless the other party was in their pursuit, it was just a matter of time before he was caught. If I were to head to Tianwu Academy, I might implicate teacher and the other students. Fleeing beyond the city isn't an option either. Given the vast empty terrain outside, I'll surely be found quickly. So, I can only find a hiding place within the capital. Lu Chong was anxious, but he didn't panic. If he were to head to Tianwu Academy now, someone would definitely point out that he was Liu Laosh's student, and this would bring calamity to his teacher and his peers. His teacher was his benefactor, so this course of action was out of question. As for escaping beyond the city gates, other than small patches of forests here and there, an empty plain extended to the horizon. Without the flow of crowd hiding his presence, he would only be making things easier for his pursuers. Given the Lin clan's standing, they could definitely mobilize the kingdom's army to encircle him. If he were to be surrounded in the empty plains, he would truly be doomed. Thus, the only solution was to remain in the capital. Under the concealment of the infrastructures and crowd, it would be easier for him to hide. But where can I hide for the Lin clan to be unable to find me? Lu Chong's mind whirled swiftly. Since the other party was able to find him despite having escaped multiple times, it was likely that they possessed some kind of special mean to track him down. If he didn't find a good hiding spot, it would just be a matter of time before he was found again. He would be a goner if the other party manages to surround him. Right. Tianwu Royal Palace. Suddenly, Lu Chong's eyes lit up. A location suddenly flashed across his mind. Back then, the news of the destruction of the clan was so carefully restrained that not a single person in the master-teacher pavilion knew of it. Lu Chong would never believe it if the Tianwu royal family didn't play a part in the matter. Since they had colluded with one another, he might as well hide in the royal palace and leave those two to fight with one another. After all, no matter how formidable the Lin clan was, they couldn't possibly brazenly demand to search the royal palace. Even if they did, the royal palace couldn't possibly give in the other party's demands easily either. That would be a humiliation to the royal palace, sullying the prestige of the royal family. With an idea in mind, Lu Chong headed straight for the royal palace. Having successfully cultivated the poison body, Lu Chong's current strength was at Zongsha realm intermediate stage. Even though his cultivation wasn't top-notch in Tianwu Royal City, there were very few who could match up to him. Most guards wouldn't be able to sense his presence. It didn't take long for him to arrive at the royal palace. Chapter 375, Seeking Mouse Tianwu Royal Palace. Looking at his depressed daughter, Mo Tianxue was perplexed. What's wrong? Guildmaster Liu turned down the invitation. He came. Mo Yu shook her head. However, he wishes to look through the books by his own. He doesn't need me to accompany him. Forget it. Mo Tianxue sighed. This kind of thing depends on fate. If you two aren't fated to be, there's no use forcing it. He had been wanting to pair his daughter with Guildmaster Liu for a while now. If he got his way, he would be able to tie the other party onto his boat. In the future, if the Lin clan or Mo Hongyi harbored any thoughts toward the throne, they would have to think twice. But from the looks of it now, he seemed to have been expecting too much. His daughter could be considered as a phoenix among men, but she was still a far way off compared to Guildmaster Liu and Zhongshe. Mo Yu nodded. It wasn't that she was interested in Zhongshen. All along, she had been the center of attention, and meeting a person who was nonchalant to her piqued her interest and her competitive spirit. However, upon seeing that she had no hopes, her heart calmed down swiftly. Father, is it the Lin clan who laid their hands on the guardian beast? Are there any movements on their end? Putting aside all other thoughts, Mo Yu's eyes regained her previous clarity. 7 eunuchs were involved in this matter. However, the moment I started looking into this matter, all of them immediately committed suicide. Mo Tianxue's eyes turned grim. I know that it's impossible for us to find anything this way. Furthermore, our enemies are in the shadows while we're in the open. This gives them the chance to prepare in advance. Even if we were to dig up anything, it might very possibly be something they planted to mislead us. Thus, while I had some of my men investigate this matter openly, I secretly sent the others on another trail. Sent the others on another trail? Mo Yu asked in bewilderment. I sent them to track the origin of the poison. A glint flashed across Mo Tianshue's eyes. Given how the poison was able to send the half-Jizuan gold-tailed lion into such a dire state without us noticing, it must be at grade 2 pinnacle, perhaps grade 3 even. Given how the poison was effective on even the gold-tailed lion, it must be extraordinarily potent. Grade 1 poison was capable of killing cultivators beneath Zhongsha realm. Grade 2 poison was effective on Zhongsha and even half-Jizuan. Even though this poison didn't kill the gold-tailed lion instantly, it accelerated its aging. Its effects were definitely at the level of a grade 2 pinnacle poison. Only the poison hall is capable of bringing out such a poison. Based on the results of my investigation, the Lin clan seems to have some dealings with Red Lotus City. In fact, the most powerful Great Herb King had arrived in the capital a few days ago. Mo Tianxue flung his sleeves and harumphed. All of this is way too coincidental. As such, I sent my men to investigate the matter, and the conclusion is that the Lin clan is involved in this matter. Then, what should we do? Confirming that it was the Lin clan's doing, Mo Yu's complexion turned incredibly awful. Since the other party was able to make a move on the gold-tailed lion, it might very possibly be the members of the royal family next. Once one sets his eye on absolute authority, one's ambition would start to sprout like bamboo shoots after a rain. No one would be able to quell one's fiery desire anymore. Even though the gold-tailed lion has reached Jizuan realm, the Lin clan has Shenyuan kingdom serving as their backing. Thus, we can't afford to offend them. Knowing what his daughter was worried about, Mo Tianxue shook his head. So what if we know that they were the ones who did it? On top of a 3-star formation master, they even have the princess consort of Shenyuan conferred kingdom on their side. They aren't someone that we can afford to offend. As long as we pretend to be ignorant about it now, with the presence of the master-teacher pavilion, the Lin clan still wouldn't dare overstep their boundaries. However, if they were to turn against the Lin clan, Shenyuan kingdom only needed to send a slightly more formidable Jizuan realm expert to destroy their entire royal family. Indeed. It's just like the Chu clan back then. Seems like we're helpless once more. Understanding the troubles of her father, Mo Yu sighed. The Chu clan might not be a prestigious clan, but they have a huge establishment in the city. Yet, for some reason, their entire clan of 137 people were killed overnight by the Lin clan. Even until now, I can't forget this matter. Mo Tianxue clenched his fists tightly. 2 years ago, the Chu clan of Qianwu Royal City, for some unknown reason, offended the Lin clan, and over the course of a single night, the entire clan had been purged. When the royal family sent someone to look into the matter, clan head Lin arrived in the palace personally and forced them to clamp down on all news. In the end, this matter could only end inconclusively. Despite being the emperor of the country, he was unable to protect his own people. As though a thorn, this matter had been pricking on Mo Tianxue's heart. Actually, this isn't father's fault. Back then, the other party was holding on to the Shenyuan kingdom's token, saying that they are carrying out the orders of the crown prince. As a tier 1 kingdom, we can't possibly disobey his orders. Seeing the sorrowful expression of her father, Mo Yu consoled. Back then, it wasn't because they feared the Lin clan that they decided to lie low. It was because the other party was holding on to the edict from Shenyuan kingdom's crown prince. As a lower-tiered kingdom, they could only submit. I know. Mo Tianxue shook his head. In the end, a human can't defy circumstances. That's why I hoped that you can pull Guild Master Liu or Zhongsha to our side. As long as one of them becomes the prince consort, they wouldn't dare to make a move anymore. That was the reason why Mo Tianxue had been trying to create opportunities for his daughter and Guild Master Liu to be together. However, the other party didn't seem to be interested in his daughter at all. Hearing her father's words, Mo Yu felt a little depressed. Shaking her head, she was just about to speak when a panicked eunuch rushed into the room. What's wrong? Mo Tianxue frowned. Reporting to your majesty, the third elder of the Lin clan has brought a large group of men here, saying that the royal family owes them an explanation. The eunuch trembled. We owe them an explanation? What does that mean? Mo Tianxue's eyes narrowed. We haven't even settled the score of the Lin clan poisoning the guardian beast, yet the other party came knocking? Demanding for an explanation even? Could it be that they've decided to abandon everything and decided to just go through with it? Your humble servant doesn't know. They are currently at the gates of the royal palace, and they're about to rush in. The eunuch hurriedly replied. Let's go take a look. Harumphing coldly, Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu started walking out. Soon, they arrived at the palace gates and saw a huge group from the Lin clan standing arrogantly outside. Emperor Mo Tianxue, I advise you to hurry up and hand over the man. If so, we can let this matter rest. Otherwise, don't expect this matter to end so easily. Upon seeing Mo Tianxue walking over, an elder walked forward with a menacing expression. Hand over the man? What do you mean? Mo Tianxue was baffled. Stop putting on an act. You sent your men to assassinate our young master Lin Lang. Even now, he's severely wounded and still in a coma. It can't be that you don't dare to admit it. The Lin clan's third elder narrowed his eyes. Assassinate young master Lin Lang? Mo Tianxue was even more baffled. Could there be a misunderstanding? Even though he desired to destroy the Lin clan, he knew the potential consequences of doing so. As such, he had been suppressing his desire all along. Could it be that something had happened to young master Lin Lang? Misunderstanding? The culprit has already escaped into the royal palace, and is currently within the palace walls. Yet, you say that it's a misunderstanding? The Lin clan's third elder sneered coldly. Unable to comprehend the situation, Mo Tianxue was about to continue asking when a grey-robed man silently walked toward him and whispered a few words into his ears. He was a member of the Shadow Squad. Given the huge ruckus in the Emerald Pavilion and that the entire Lin clan was dispatched to dig out the culprit, it didn't take long for news to reach the Shadow Squad. Hearing the other party's words, Mo Tianxue immediately understood the situation, and a look of dismay appeared on his face. He had never sent anyone, and even if he did, he would ensure that the entire Lin clan would collapse with a single blow. To leave Lin Lang in a coma. Wasn't this offering the other party a reason to strike at them? Elder Lin Hui, I can tell you clearly now that Lin Langgong's condition isn't the doing of our royal family. Mo Tianxue said. Isn't your doing? Third elder Lin Hui laughed frostily. I'm fine with you denying it. However, you'll have to get your guards to leave so that we can search the royal palace. We'll know the truth once we find the culprit. Mo Tianxue's face turned dark, and his entire body tightened. The royal palace wasn't only the royal family's foundation, it also represented the entire kingdom's dignity. If he were to allow them to search through the royal palace, what prestige would the Qianwu royal family have to command the entire Qianwu kingdom in the future? You said that the culprit has escaped to the royal palace, but do you have any evidence? Mo Yu frowned. Paying respect to Mo Shi, glancing at Mo Yu, Lin Hui chuckled softly and said, Of course we have our basis for saying so. Then, he beckoned to the back. A man immediately walked forward with a cage in his hands. There was a snow-white mouse crawling around the cage. Lifting his nose, he kept sniffing around the place. This is a seeking mouse. Mo Tianxue's body jolted. The seeking mouse was a unique savage beast that possessed an extraordinarily sensitive nose. No matter what it was, with a single sniff, even if it was thousands of miles apart, it would be able to find it. This animal was even rarer than spirit stones, and it was hard to find even in conferred Shenyuan kingdom. To think that the Lin clan would actually possess one of them. If it was the seeking mouse, as long as the assassin left behind his scent, no matter how far he escaped or how many clothes he changed into, it was impossible for him to escape. Indeed. Seems like Emperor Tianxue recognizes it. It's not my claim that the assassin is hiding in the royal palace, but the seeking mouse's judgment. Why? Does your majesty doubt its judgment? Lin Hui harumphed. This. Mo Tianxue fell silent. Since they had followed the trial of the seeking mouse here, the culprit must truly be hiding in the royal palace. However, for him to know nothing at all, what in the world was going on? All we want to do is to capture the man who harmed the young master. We won't wreak havoc in here. If your majesty insists on stopping us, we can only take it as a sign of guilt. Lin Hui continued. If that gold-tailed lion had died, the Lin clan would definitely make use of this opportunity to force the royal family who had ruled over Qianwu Kingdom for over 1,000 years to step down. However, not only did that savage beast not die, it even became a Jizuan realm expert. With this consideration, they had to think twice before doing anything. Before they were completely prepared, it was best not to fall out with the other party. Otherwise, if the Jizuan realm guardian beast were to make a move, it would be hard for the Lin clan's grade 3 formation to withstand its might. Fine. Our royal family definitely didn't send anyone to harm Lin Langgongzi. As long the seeking mouse finds the culprit, we'll know the truth. After hesitating for a short moment, Mo Tianxue nodded. Since the other party had the seeking mouse with them, it shouldn't be too difficult for them to find the culprit. They would have no reason to overturn the royal palace under the context of conducting a search. At the same time, Mo Tianxue would also like to see who it was who assaulted Lin Lang and ran to the royal palace to frame them. Since your majesty has agreed to it, I won't stand on formalities then. Seeing that Mo Tianxue had given in, Lin Hui raised his hand, and his subordinate immediately opened the cage, allowing the seeking mouse to jump out. Lifting up its slightly slender and long nose, it sniffed around before dashing forward. Follow it. The large group followed closely behind the seeking mouse. Chapter 376. I'm his teacher. Where is this? Qianwu Royal Palace was massive. After a moment, Lu Chong was confused by the similar-looking infrastructures all around and lost his sense of direction. After dodging a few patrols, a towering infrastructure appeared before him. 3 large words were written on a plaque above the entrance. Book Collection Vault. So, this is the kingdom's book collection vault. The Qianwu Kingdom Book Collection Vault had all kinds of books from all around the world in it. It encompassed nearly all of the knowledge from the surrounding 13 kingdoms, making it extremely well known. Lu Chong had long heard of it. Many young men took it as an honor to be able to enter the library to browse through its books. To think that after circling around the royal palace, he would stumble into this area. To think that there are no formations guarding the area. Carefully taking a look around the book collection vault, Lu Chong was stunned for a moment. Usually, this kind of location where knowledge was stored should be guarded with a formation. Without a unique token or such, one would be attacked upon entry. Yet, at this moment, he couldn't sense the slightest ripple in the spiritual energy in the air. Apparently, the book collection vault seemed to be completely unguarded at the moment. Did someone stop the formation? Hurry up, he should be in here. Don't let him get away, guard the area. Just as Lu Chong was overwhelmed with bafflement, he suddenly heard footsteps and voices. They're here. Knowing that this wasn't the time to be thinking about such matters, Lu Chong rushed straight into the book collection vault. He silently opened the door and slipped into the area. He didn't have any other options. There was no place for him to escape to. He could only hope that the other party would back down due to the importance of this location. Row after row of books stood imposingly on the shelves, and giant night illumination pearls were embedded in the area, bringing radiance to this library. Surprisingly, there wasn't the slightest bit of gloominess and darkness that a sealed vault should have. Knowing that it was likely there was someone in here, Lu Chong carefully proceeded forward to look for a hiding place. However, at this moment, he suddenly heard flurried footsteps in front. He lifted his head to take a look. A figure was running about the book collection vault, as though a lunatic. Other people came to the book collection to vault to read books or browse through books. Running in here. What the heck was this? Furthermore, to run so fast. It was impossible to even see the name of the book like that. What in the world was the person up to? Wait, teacher. Just as Lu Chong was perplexed over who this fool who was running about furiously was, his eyes suddenly caught the side profile of the other party's face and his body jolted. It was his teacher, Liu Cheng. What was his teacher doing here instead of teaching at the academy? Lu Chong was dumbstruck. He had no idea what was going on. What are you doing here? Zhong Xian was in the midst of collecting books in the book collection vault when he noticed that someone was hiding by the corner. Initially, he thought that it would be Mo Yu or someone from the royal family, but never in his dreams did he expect that it would be his student who was out for vengeance. He immediately stopped what he was doing and walked over. Aren't you in the midst of exacting your vengeance? Could it be that? Zhongxian suddenly paused, and his eyebrows flew up. Your enemy is Tianwu Kingdom's royal family? The other party said that he was out for vengeance, but he ended up coming to the royal palace. Could the enemy of this student of his be the royal family? That's why the other party didn't tell him anything for fear of implicating him? That seemed extremely probable. Probably only the royal family was capable of inducing such fear in him, going to the extent of even playing off as a mute. If that was truly the case, then Zhongxian would be in a spot. Putting aside his relationship with Mo Yu, the Tianwu royal family had given him several spirit stones as a show of goodwill. On top of that, Mo Tianxue didn't seem like the type to commit atrocities, slaughtering another clan on his own whim. Furthermore, even if he were to do so, given that he wielded authority in his hands, it wasn't too difficult for him to pin a crime on the other party. There was no need for him to do it so secretively. Could there be a misunderstanding between the two? Hesitating for a moment, Lu Chong was just about to speak up when the sound of hasty footsteps sounded outside, and Jia, the doors to the book collection vault was opened. Search properly. The culprit is definitely inside. Hualala. With a loud bellow, a group of men rushed in. The duo stood at the back of the first shelf, hiding from the sight of the crowd. As such, the crowd who came in didn't notice them immediately. Even so, they seemed as though they wouldn't back down until they found their target, so being caught was just a matter of time. Knowing that it would be difficult for him to survive this calamity, Lu Chong didn't panic. Instead, with determined eyes, he kneeled to the floor, kowtowed several times, and with reddened eyes, he said, "Please pardon your unfilial student for being unable to wait upon you. If there's an afterlife, I hope that I can still become teacher's student." In the end, the person he felt the most indebted to was his teacher. If he died, he could accompany his parents and kin. On the other hand, this teacher of his had given so much to him, putting in so much effort so as to raise his cultivation. Yet, he was unable to repay the favor the other party had shown him. "Teacher, I am sorry. I didn't wish to disappoint you." "Teacher, if there's an afterlife, I wish to become your student once more. There, I will serve you until I'm old, never to leave your side." Gritting his teeth, Lu Chong burst forward and headed straight toward the door. His sudden appearance immediately caught the attention of the crowd. "GG," the seeking mouse squeaked in confirmation of the target. "He's indeed here. Let's see where he can escape to." Sneering coldly, an elder of the Lin clan stepped forward. Hoo. Before even making a move, his intimidating aura had already permeated into the surroundings, revealing his Zhongsha realm intermediate stage cultivation. Knowing that it was impossible for him to retreat, Lu Chong drove his poison body to its limit without the slightest hesitation to face the elder. "You must be tired of living." Chuckling softly, the Lin clan elder clenched his fist tightly and sent it straight toward Lu Chong. The immense might of the fist compressed the air, sending a huge gust of wind flying straight toward its target, making it difficult for one to breathe. Lu Chong's muscles tightened in the face of the overwhelming shock wave from the fist. As a clan of formation masters, the Lin clan had many years of history behind it. It possessed a huge collection of impressive battle techniques and cultivation techniques, making it on par even with the Tianwu Kingdom royal family. The battle technique this elder used was an exceptionally famous fist art. Fist of the Radiant Sun. This fist art was exceptionally powerful and violent, and it carried an energy reminiscent of the burning sun. It flew straight toward its target as soon as it was executed, leaving one helpless before it. Putting aside those of the same cultivation realm, even Zhongsha realm advanced stage experts would immediately avoid it for fear of its might. It seemed like this fellow was adamant to defeat Lu Chong. In the very first move, he had already executed his strongest move. Knowing that death was what that awaited him, Lu Chong chose not to dodge. Instead, with reddened eyes, he charged straight at the other party. With a loud explosion, the elder's palm struck Lu Chong's body. At the same time, the latter's shoulder struck the elder's chest. Peng! The Lin clan elder spurted a mouthful of blood, and he was immediately sent flying backward. Then, his vision turned dark and he fainted. On the other hand, Lu Chong was forced back 2 steps. He forcefully swallowed the blood which was regurgitating in his mouth. His Zongsha realm intermediate stage cultivation was very much different from that of other cultivators. His strength came entirely from his physical body. While the other party's Fist of the Radiant Sun was powerful, it only dealt excruciating pain to Lu Chong. It did little to wound his vitals. Having defeated a Zongsha realm intermediate stage expert with a single blow, Lu Chong roared deeply before continuing to charge straight to the exit of the book collection vault. If he were to stay here, not only would he die, he might even implicate his teacher. The only thing he could do now was to charge out of the other party's encirclement and escape as far as he could. It would be much better for him to die outside than to die here. Since you're already in here, don't dream of getting out. Not expecting the Zongsha realm expert of their clan would be knocked out in a single blow, Lin Hui's face steeled. Roaring furiously, he immediately stood in Lu Chong's path. That single movement revealed his cultivation realm. This third elder Lin Hui was a Zongsha realm pinnacle expert. Furthermore, judging from how dense his zhenqi was, he didn't pale to Mo Tianxue in any aspects. He could be considered as strong even among those of the same realm. As expected of the number 7 in the 10 great experts ranking of the kingdom. Mo Yu's eyes narrowed. Tianwu Kingdom had ranked the Zongsha realm pinnacle experts in their territory based on their battle result. This elder Lin Hui usually kept a low profile, so he wasn't too famous in the kingdom. However, his strength was not to be underestimated. To be able to be ranked in the 7th place meant that even the top genius Mo Hongyi had to cross over 100 blows with him to defeat him. That assassin is probably done for. Mo Yu turned to examine Lu Chong. Even though she had been to Zhong Xian's classroom, she had never met Lu Chong, so she didn't recognize him. However, upon seeing the other party's age, she couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. A 16 to 17-year-old Zongsha realm intermediate stage cultivator. This feat was even superior to that of Mo Hongyi. When did such a monster appear in the kingdom? To be able to reach such strength at such a young age, his future must be bright. For such a talented person to destroy his own future by assaulting Lin Lang, he must have a huge grudge with the Lin clan. Turning around to look at her father, she realized that Mo Tianxue was also perplexed. Actually, Mo Tianxue was the most dismayed of the group. If it was someone he sent, at the very least, he wouldn't feel so indignant. Where in the world did this fellow pop out from? And why would he hide in the book collection vault of the royal palace? Even if he were to explain the situation now, the Lin clan would definitely not believe him. Looks like a huge battle can't be avoided anymore. While the duo was still in shock, elder Lin Hui's palm had already fallen on Lu Chong. Voila! The other party's dense zhenqi had sealed all retreat paths for Lu Chong, leaving him with no choice but to face the palm face-on. He might be able to charge straight at the elder before, but facing Lin Hui, due to the huge disparity in their strength, he could already feel the strength coursing through his body being suppressed even before crossing blow with the other party, making every single movement difficult for him. Catcher. Under the tremendous might, Lu Chong's body caved in, and he was just about to fall down. In a battle between experts, the slightest error could spell one's death. As long as Lu Chong failed to persevere on, not only would he be injured, the injury he sustained from before would also worsen, leaving him with no strength to fight back anymore. It's over. Under the immense pressure, Lu Chong felt that he was coming to his limits, and a dark shadow appeared in his eyes. His final wish was to escape as far as he could, even if it meant his death, so that he wouldn't implicate his teacher into this matter. Yet, this elder was simply way too strong, leaving him completely helpless. Goodbye, teacher. Goodbye, my benefactor. Just as Lu Chong closed his eyes, giving up on all retaliation, he suddenly felt the force on his body lightened. Someone had grabbed him from behind and he was thrown several dozen meters away. Peng! Lin Hui's massive strength fell on where Lu Chong stood before, and a layer of dust blew into the air. Unknowingly, a young man had appeared before elder Lin Hui. He was the one who had thrown Lu Chong back just now. Who are you? To dare to stand in the Lin clan's path, are you so eager to die? Lin Hui glared at the young man furiously, and a menacing killing intent burst forth from him. Hold it for a moment, It's a misunderstanding. Upon seeing the young man, Mo Tianxue hurriedly stepped forward. Mo Tianxue was the one who had his daughter invite Guild Master Liu here to browse through the books in the book collection vault. The other party must be oblivious to the happenings outside, and upon seeing the young man before him getting bullied by a group of experts, he couldn't help but step in to defend the other party. Thinking so, Mo Tianxue stepped forward to introduce both sides. Elder Lin Hui, this is the newly appointed Guild Master of the Physician Guild, Liu Cheng. Guild Master Liu, this is the third elder of the Lin clan, Lin Hui. Liu Cheng. Upon hearing the introduction, Lin Hui harumphed coldly in disdain. You must be the new guild leader who solved 19 questions on the Wall of Dilemma. In respect of your identity and standing, if you get lost now, I can overlook your previous actions. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting nasty. Guild Master Liu. Being a guild master may seem impressive, but without a sufficiently high cultivation realm, one couldn't even qualify to take on the official examination. In a sense, this title was empty. In any case, Lin Hui wasn't even afraid of the previous guild master. Why should he fear this pseudo? Initially, Zhong Xian thought that Lu Chong's enemy was the Tianwu royal family, and if that was the case, he would be put at a spot. However, upon seeing that it was the Lin clan, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Lifting his head, the edges of his lips slowly curled up. What if I refuse? Where in the world did this arrogant fellow come from? Guild Master Liu. Upon hearing these words, Mo Tianxue was nearly scared to death. He hurried forward and explained the situation. The Lin clan young master has just met with an assassination, and Elder Lin Hui is in the midst of pursuing the murderer. The young man you saw just now is the culprit, so it's best for you not to get involved. Out of goodwill, Mo Tianxue tried to advise Zhong Xian. Even he was unwilling to offend the Lin clan. The person before him might be the guild master of the Physician Guild, but before his cultivation becomes worthy of his position, he didn't wield the equivalent authority to it. Under such circumstances, it was wiser to stay out of the Lin clan's path. Besides, this matter is none of your business. Why should you involve yourself in such trouble? This friend here, I appreciate your goodwill. However, I will take responsibility for my own actions. I am the one who beat up Lin Lang, so I'll leave with them. This matter has nothing to do with you. Clenching his jaws, Lu Chong walked forward. If Lu Chong were to admit to the relationship of the two, not only would he die, his teacher would be pulled down as well. The only thing he could do now was to steer clear of the other party. It was one thing for him to die, but he mustn't implicate his teacher in this matter. If that happened, even in death, he would never be able to forgive himself. Zhong Xian, don't quarrel with them. The Lin clan is problematic. Fearing that the other party might be oblivious to the situation, Mo Yu hurriedly sent a telepathic message to him. At the same time, she felt a little bewildered. From the moment they met, this fellow had been a person who didn't like getting involved in troublesome matters. Why would he stand up for someone he didn't know? You refuse. Does Guild Master Liu intend to stand against our Lin clan for a stranger? Taking the attitude of the crowd into sight, Lin Hui immediately understood the situation and sneered coldly. As a member of the dominant Lin clan, he had the confidence to go with it. As long as he reported his identity, people would be willing to abandon even their closest kin, needless to say, a stranger. He thought that this Guild Master Liu was just young and hot-blooded. That's why he chose to stand forward for a stranger. The other party should back down in fear once he knew of their identity. After all, a Tier 1 Kingdom Guild Master in name meant nothing to the Lin clan. The other party was someone they could squash easily. Indeed. This friend, don't get into a conflict with the Lin clan for a stranger like me. Lu Chong advised anxiously. Shut up. Did I allow you to speak? Understanding the intentions of his student, Zhong Xian frowned and bellowed. Then, turning to Lin Hui and the others, he said, Pardon me, but I happen to know the assassin you speak of. He's my student, and I am his teacher. Teacher, you. Lu Chong didn't think that his teacher would straight up admit to it. This was equivalent to directly opposing the Lin clan for him. His entire body shuddered, and his eyes reddened. He could no longer hold back his tears, and slowly, They trickled down his cheeks and fell to the floor. Chapter 377, Lu Chong's Gratitude. I am his teacher. These words sounded ordinary and simple, and there wasn't any excessive adornment or vehement emotions behind them. Yet, Lu Chong felt as though he was shrouded in warm water, and his blood coursed swiftly through his body. Having come from a wealthy clan, he knew how valuable the lethal poison his teacher concocted for him was. He also understood how valuable the cultivation technique the other party imparted him was. Without demanding anything return, he gave it his all to guide him, even going to the extent of offending the Lin clan. All of this, just because he called him teacher, just because he was his student. Teacher, do you know that your admission is equivalent to falling out with the Lin clan? They will never let you get away with this. It isn't worth going this far for a student who you've barely known for 6 days and hasn't done anything for you. I have truly pulled you down. Lu Chong's body trembled in agitation. Zhongxian, you. Mo Yu was taken aback as well. She had thought that the two weren't related to one another, but to think that the assassin was his student. But even if the assassin was his student, they probably just met not too long ago. To offend the entire Lin clan over such a reckless fellow. Was it truly worth it? Your student. Lin Hui was stunned. He found the situation hard to believe. This guild master Liu, despite being a Tongxian realm primary stage cultivator, actually groomed a Zhongsha realm intermediate stage student. But soon, he recovered from his shock. This kind of situation wasn't completely unheard of in this world. A student might not necessarily be inferior to his teacher, and a teacher might not necessarily be more virtuous than his students. Everyone has their own strengths, and this is how the world operated. Given how skilled this guild master Liu was in the way of medicine, it was highly possible that this assassin was simply his student in medicine rather than cultivation. Indeed. Zhongxian placed his hands behind his back and nodded. Since the other party called him teacher, he couldn't abandon him at this moment. Even if it means offending the entire world, as long as you are my student, I will make sure you are safe. Good. Seeing the other party respond to his question, Lin Hui soon calmed down. Then, staring at Zhongxian, the corners of his lips crept up. It's good that you admitted to it. Say, how did our young master offend you? Why did you send your student to assassinate him? Elder Lin, what do you mean by that? Even if Guild Master Liu is that boy's teacher, he can't possibly know every action of his. He isn't his nanny or maid. Mo Yu's face darkened. So what if Zhongxian was that fellow's teacher? Must it be under a teacher's orders that a student killed someone? What kind of logic was that? Teachers are only responsible for clarifying one's doubts and guiding one on the right path. They aren't responsible for their own student's life. In fact, even parents didn't have that responsibility. Moshe, this is a matter between the Lin clan and Guild Master Liu. It isn't your place to interfere. Flinging his sleeves, Lin Hui interrupted Mo Yu, turned to Zhongxian, and chuckled, Guildmaster Liu, you are also a respectable figure. Do you wish to follow me obediently, or do you need me to drag you away? He thought that the one who attempted to assassinate the young master was just an insignificant ruffian, but to think that such a formidable figure was behind it. However, this was an opportunity as well. As long as they taught this Guildmaster Liu a lesson, they could strike fear in the hearts of the entire kingdom. Everyone would learn better than to offend the Lin clan. I'm not done browsing through my books, so I don't have the time to follow you around. Zhongxian shook his head. When Lu Chong barged in, Zhongxian had barely looked through half of the books in the book collection vault. He still needed some time to finish reading all of it, so he didn't have the effort to waste on this fellow. Browsing through books. Lin Hui was dumbstruck for a moment before his complexion darkened. I tried to spare your dignity, didn't I? No matter what reason you give, you have to follow me to the Lin clan today and accept your punishment. To dare to harm the young master of our Lin clan, at minimum, your cultivation will be crippled, or at worst, you might even be killed on the spot. Let me warn you, don't force me to make a move. You might be the guild master of the Physician Guild, but your strength is only at Tongxian realm primary stage. You aren't a match for me. Killing you isn't any harder than smashing an egg for me, teacher. Lu Chong immediately charged forward to stand before Zhongxian, protecting him. Nervous, he clenched his fists tightly together. He had just experienced Lin Hui's strength firsthand, and it was indeed fearsome. His teacher's fighting prowess couldn't even compare to his. How could he be an opponent for the other party? Zhongxian. Mo Yu was also worried. She knew that Zhongxian wasn't weak, but he was only at Zhongsha Realm primary stage. Furthermore, he only achieved a breakthrough during the master-teacher examination a few days ago, so it was impossible for him to be a match for the other party. Force you to make a move? Feel free to do so. Pushing Lu Chong to be side, Zhongxian glanced at Lin Hui as though he was a pitiful fellow and shook his head. Since you are so eager to die, allow me to grant your wish. Narrowing his eyes, Lin Hui harumphed coldly. Then, with a swift movement, his palm flew abruptly toward Zhongxian. Voila! Just like with Lu Chong a moment ago, before the palm could even reach, the air in the surroundings seemed to have solidified, locking Zhongxian in place. Teacher. Clenching his fists tightly, Lu Chong was about to sacrifice himself to protect his teacher when he saw Liu Larosha shake his head. The other party's hands remained firmly behind his back, and with a lazy expression, he lifted his legs and kicked at the other party. Zhongxian's kick was so swift that one could barely see the afterimage of his movement. Before anyone could fully perceive the situation, his leg had already struck the area right in between the other party's thighs. Catcher! The crisp sound of eggs breaking echoed in the room. Ah! Flying into the air, Lin Hui released a high-pitched scream of agony which threatened to burst the crowd's eardrums. After which, that arrogant fellow fell to the floor and scrunched together as though a shrimp. White foam kept flowing out of the corners of his mouth, and his entire body twitched non-stop. Ah! Lu Chong, Mo Tianxue, and the others were dumbfounded. They had seen Lin Hui's attack clearly. As expected of the seventh strongest expert in the kingdom, before his palm even arrived, the pressure from his assault was already sufficient to render anyone helpless. Even if Mo Hongyi wanted to defeat the other party, he would take at least 100 blows. Yet, with a single kick, this Liu Larosha immediately sent him rolling around the floor. As though a dying dog. When did subduing a Zhongsha Realm pinnacle expert become so easy? The heck? Aren't you a Tongxian Realm primary stage cultivator? To render a Zhongsha Realm pinnacle expert powerless with a single kick. Mo Yu was also dumbstruck. She had personally seen Zhongxian reach Zhongsha Realm a few days ago. There was a huge gap between Zhongsha Realm primary stage and Zhongsha Realm pinnacle, and it was completely impossible for the former to even match up to the latter. Yet, to subdue the other party with a single kick. How in the world did he do it? Even the guards behind Lin Hui were flabbergasted. They thought that it was a sealed deal since the third elder was making a move personally. Who could have thought that before his attack could reach the other party, he was already rendered infertile with a single kick? There's no need to face a person head-on in a battle. What you should do is to find the other party's weakness and utilize it against him. Take for example this elder, he managed to conceal his aura within, so his only visible flaw is that spot. If you strike at his weakness accurately, you can subdue him effectively. Ignoring the widened mouths of the crowd, Zhongxian turned to Lu Chong and explained. The other party had reached Zhongsha Realm pinnacle as well, and his fighting prowess was one to behold. In a straightforward battle, even despite Zhongxian's immense strength of 5,000 ding, he couldn't have subdued the other party with a single blow. However, possessing the eye of insight, he was able to see the direction and speed of the flow of the other party's zhenqi. Thus, he immediately kicked out and struck the other party's Mingmen. And thus, this fellow was in for a round of suffering. Yes. Despite nearly killing the Lin clan third elder with a single kick, his teacher still deciphered the entire situation and explained it to him as though it wasn't a big deal. Feeling a little awkward, it took Lu Chong a while before he recovered and hurriedly nodded his head. Good. Nodding his head in satisfaction, Zhongxian instructed. Since you understand, give it a try. Previously, when Lu Chong was fighting against the other elder, his moves were too unpolished, and he relied too heavily on brute force to break through the other party's offense. Since he was free now, Zhongxian decided to guide him along. Give it a try. Lu Chong hesitated. Indeed. Cultivation and fighting instincts require consistent polishing and refinement. If you don't practice, how can you grow stronger than the others? Zhong Xian frowned. Battle techniques were just empty movements if one wasn't able to integrate it into a real battle. Only when one managed to bring it out naturally in a true battle would it be able to show its true might and effectiveness. Yes. After a moment of hesitation, Lu Chong gritted his teeth and walked up to Lin Hui, who was scrunched up as though a shrimp. Then, facing a certain spot, he lifted his leg and kicked at him forcefully. Ah! Upon having that which was shattered kicked fiercely again, Lin Hui's eyes flipped upward. With this single blow, even the pipe was gone. Unable to hold on any further, he immediately keeled over. After kicking the other party, Lu Chong turned to look at his teacher to listen to his evaluation, only to see the latter glaring at him furiously. When I asked you to give it a try, I meant those guards. Who asked you to kick him? It was no wonder why Zhong Xian was angry. He explained so much to the other party to make him understand that technique is equally important and brute strength. His motive for asking the other party to give it a try was also simple. Even though Lin Hui was down, there was still a huge group of guards for him to practice on. Perhaps, his skills might improve if he refined his offense on them. In any case, they were all his enemies, so it wouldn't matter beating them up either. But, what the heck are you doing? Why did you go and kick Lin Hui? That fellow is already spurting white foam. What can you learn from kicking him? Does stabbing a knife into a corpse means that you have managed to kill someone? Yes. It was only then that Lu Chong understood his teacher's intentions. With a face flushed in embarrassment, he charged straight at the other guards. The guards were mostly at Tongxian realm. While they weren't weak, but compared to a Zhongsha realm intermediate stage expert, they meant nothing at all. In just a short moment, they were all lying on the ground, motionless, and just like Lin Hui, white foam flowed out from their mouths. Even though Lu Chong's offense was still slightly stiff, there was a visible improvement from his completely unrefined movements from before. Thus, Zhong Xian nodded in satisfaction. Upon seeing this sight, Mo Yu and Mo Tianxue's eyes circled around their socket, and they felt frenzied within. Liu Laroche, do you know what you're doing? This is the third elder and their guards of the Lin clan, to render the former infertile and knock out all of the guards. This is equivalent to a complete fallout with the Lin clan. There is no room for reconciliation. Your student might be reckless, but as an elder, you should know better. Teacher. After knocking out everyone, Lu Chong walked up to Zhong Xian and kneeled down. Agitation and gratitude reflected in his eyes. Being pursued, he had no choice but to hide his identity. In this period of time, he had undergone and seen numerous betrayals. He had once considered of the possibility that his teacher might deliver him to the Lin clan once he knew of his enemy, but contrary to all that he could have imagined, not only did his teacher not do that, he even helped him despite incurring the wrath of the Lin clan. He could never repay this gratitude in this lifetime. Knowing that Lu Chong was expressing his thanks, Zhong Xian nodded his head. Just as he was about to speak, his mind jolted, and the library of Heaven's Path shuddered. The golden book appeared once more. This. Zhong Xian was stunned. He had only thought of saving his own student. He didn't think that the other party's gratitude would bring him a golden page. Chapter 378 Physician Mu Hong's Breakdown 1. With this page, I can finally assimilate all of those books in the library of Heaven's Path into my knowledge. Zhong Xian smiled. After traveling out of Tianqian Kingdom, he had visited the Beast Hall, Poison Hall, Apothecary Guild, Tianwu Kingdom's book collection vault. There were more than 12 million books in the library of Heaven's Path. The content of all of these books added up to an unimaginably massive amount of knowledge. By then, even without the library of Heaven's Path, his knowledge would be sufficient to or others. Taking on the 3-star master-teacher examination wouldn't be an issue for him. I should think about it only after collecting the books in the book collection vault. Knowing that it wasn't easy to produce a golden page, Zhong Xian wasn't in a rush to use it. In any case, this was a single-use item. Thus, the more books he collected, the greater the use of the golden page. At the moment, he was only halfway through the books. It wouldn't be too late for him to use it once he was done collecting all of them. Delighted at the formation of the golden page, Zhongxian looked at Lu Chong in satisfaction. Stand up. You are my student, and I am your teacher. As long as our relationship holds. I cannot stand by idly and watch as you are insulted. Helping the young man up, Zhongxian nodded slowly. Understanding the true meaning behind the teacher and student relationship, Zhongxian meant the words that he just said. The earnest sincerity in his words affected all those listening to it, as though an impartation of heaven's will, causing everyone's soul to tremble in agitation. Even he himself couldn't help but feel refreshed after saying those words. It was as though his mind had cleared up suddenly. Mo Yu clenched her fists tightly. No wonder Zhao Ya and Mu Xueqing are willing to give it their all to fight for his honor. So, this is the true meaning behind being a teacher and student. She was a master teacher as well, and she had her own students too. However, her understanding of teachers and students was only limited to the impartation of knowledge and clarifying doubts. All along, she couldn't understand how Zhongxian's students could come into conflict with one another just because of a few words. But now, she finally understood. It was out of pure admiration for their teacher. It was because of their teacher's earnest sincerity in facing them that the students were willing to follow him, going to the extent of even fighting to defend his honor. Incredible. Mo Tianxue nodded. As the emperor of Qianwu Kingdom, he had met with many teachers and students. However, it was an extremely rare sight to see such deep trust between teacher and student. Many teachers and students only come together out of convenience and benefit, and such a relationship was bound to fall apart eventually. It was no wonder why he could win the hearts of all of his students in just a few days in Qianwu Academy. His character and charisma were truly way beyond other teachers, and this included master teachers as well. To win the hearts of others, one had to present his own first. He felt completely impressed. This Liu Laroche treated his students with his heart, treating them with utmost honesty and concern. Naturally, it was only right for him to win the love and respect of his students. Then, Mo Tianxue turned to look at the guards and the convulsing elder Lin Hui on the floor, and a headache immediately struck him. Cough cough, it's not that I want to ruin this atmosphere, but Guild Leader Liu. You were truly reckless this time. The people you two are going against aren't just anyone but the Lin clan. Even if the Lin clan don't dare to do anything to you out of fear of your position as the guild leader of the Physician Guild, but what about your students? Your kin and friends? The Lin clan didn't just have the backing of the Formation Master Guild. There's also the princess consort of Shenyuan Kingdom, that unreasonable older sister of Lin Lang. This was what worried him the most. 2 years ago, a conflict broke out with the Chu clan when her elder sister was visiting, so she sent a Jizuan realm subordinate to destroy the entire Chu clan. The royal palace knew of this matter, but intimidated by the Jizuan realm expert, they couldn't say a single word. But now, the student injured Lin Lang severely, and according to the rumors, he even pushed the other party into a fecal drain, humiliating him. On the other hand, the teacher went even further, castrating the Lin clan's third elder, leaving him no different from a eunuch. This was picking a fight with the Lin clan. Furthermore, it was the kind of irreconcilable one. Reckless. Hearing his words, Zhongxian looked at Mo Tianxue impassively and replied, even if I did nothing today, do you think that the Lin clan would spare me? This. Mo Tianxue was stumped. If Lu Chong was truly taken away today, given the Lin clan's means and connections, it would be a walk in the park to find out who his teacher was. Zhongxian's feat of saving the gold-tailed lion and pointing out that it was poisoned had wrecked the Lin clan's plans, making him an eyesore to them. Even if they knew that Zhongxian wasn't involved in this matter, they might very well make use of it to strike him. Thus, it was just bringing the conflict forward. Since Lu Chong calls me his teacher, I can't stand and watch idly by the side. Deciding not to dawdle on this matter, Zhongxian said impassively, I'm not done looking through the books yet, so I'll leave you all to settle the rest. As for Lu Chong, wait for me here. Don't leave this place first. After which, he walked back into the depths of the book collection vault, and it didn't take long for him to disappear from the eyes of the crowd. He wants to continue reading now? Even with this timing, he still has the mood to continue reading. Seeing him heading into the depths of the book collection vault, Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu glanced at one another and a strong sense of vertigo overwhelmed them. Big brother, this is the Lin clan. Even the royal family doesn't dare to face them head-on. After beating up their elder, you simply throw him on the ground and leave him to be. Continue reading. There are more than 10 million books in this book collection vault. Even a decade wouldn't be sufficient for you to finish all of them. What use is there for you to read for a little longer? This fellow. Perhaps. He truly likes reading. After a long moment of silence, Mo Yu forced out a few words. It had been a while since she was acquainted with Zhongshe. She remembered that back then, when they were at the Beast Hall, he also demanded to look through the books in the library. After which, when they arrived at Red Lotus City, the reward he wanted for treating the great Herb King was also books. Right now, even though he had picked a fight with the Lin clan, all that was on his mind was to read books. Exactly how deep was his passion for reading? It was no wonder why he could take on so many occupations at such a young age. This probably had something to do with his passion for books. The thoughts of the duo wandered around the place. Actually, Zhongshe wasn't acting calm. He truly didn't think much of the Lin clan. While it might be the dominant power in Tianwu Kingdom, he didn't think that it posed a threat to him. Even though Zhongshe's strength was only at Zhongshe Realm Pinnacle, with the Library of Heaven's Path, he could match up to even a half-Jizuan expert. If it comes down to it, he could also summon for the Steel Fang Howling Firmament Beast to back him up. Or even reveal his identity as Zhongshe, a genius master teacher, the senior of Pavilion Master Jiang, and Master Teacher Yang Shen's student. With his identity, no matter how brazen the other party was, it was unlikely that they would dare to do anything to him. Thus, in Zhongshe's eyes, the Lin clan that Mo Tianxue and the others feared tremendously meant nothing at all. Rather than wasting time on them, it was a better use of time to read books. Lin clan. The Lin clan's elder assembly room was a grand and extravagant hall. It was usually restricted to the others, and even elders would have to apply for permission before being allowed to enter. However, at this moment, a huge crowd was gathered, and the entire field was chaotic. Two young men with faces swollen as large as a pig's head were lying on the floor. It was nearly impossible to discern who they were just by their outer appearance itself. They were Lin Lang and Ji Mo Gongzi, whom Lu Chong mercilessly pummeled. At this moment, the filth had already been washed out from their body. But even so, the stench had seeped into their skin. No matter how many times they were washed, green flies still lingered around them, as though they had found a pair of rare delicacies. Just the sight of it was enough to send one barfing. In the room stood the clan head of the Lin clan, Lin Ruotian, and few other people. Clan head Lin, what's going on? How did my son land in such a state during a visit to the Emerald Pavilion? Amidst the ruckus, a tall middle-aged man walked over anxiously. The clan head of the Ji clan, Ji Feng. Upon seeing the motionless body of his son on the floor, Ji Feng's face steeled. Rage bubbled deep within him, threatening to erupt at any moment. He knew of Ji Mo Gongzi's intention to visit Lin Lang Gongzi to plead with him. In fact, he was the one who hinted it to him. Otherwise, how could Ji Mo ride a carriage out so openly when he was supposed to be grounded in the residence? Initially, he thought that with the influence of Lin Lang and the Lin clan, the matter with Zhongshe could be easily resolved. Yet, never in his dreams did he expect that before this matter could be settled, his son was already beaten up to such a tragic state. The Emerald Pavilion was Lin Lang's establishment, the expenditure abyss of the capital. Not even nobles dared to act up in there, yet Ji Mo was knocked into a coma in there. Who in the world could it be? How dare he? Did he have no eyes for the law, for the Ji clan, for the Lin clan? Atrocious. Clan head Ji, calm down. The third elder has already led a team to apprehend the culprit. He should be returning soon, Lin Ruotian said. Besides, your son isn't the only one. Even my Langer came under his attack. Even Lin Lang Gongzi was attacked. Ji Feng had rushed here immediately upon hearing the news about his son being beaten up, so he was oblivious that Lin Lang was attacked as well. He hurriedly asked, "Where is Lin Lang Gongzi? Are his wounds severe? Isn't he lying together with your son?" Lin Ruotian's complexion darkened. What in the world is wrong with your eyes? My son is lying right next to your son. How can you miss him? This is Lin Lang Gongzi. Only then did Ji Feng notice another figure lying next to his son, and he immediately leapt in shock upon seeing the face. Even though his son was severely injured, he could at least see the rough distinctive features on him. But this Lin Lang Gongzi was beaten to the point that he didn't even seem human anymore. On top of that, an overpowering stench was emanating from him. If not for Clan Head Lin's words, Ji Feng could have never imagined that this pighead-like fellow was the famous number 1 Gongzi in the capital. It was impossible to guess this much solely from his outer appearance. What happened? Swallowing a mouthful of saliva, Ji Feng asked hesitantly. He thought that the other party was already being brazen for beating his son, but to think that even Lin Lang Gongzi wasn't spared either. At this moment, he realized that the other party wasn't just brazen, he was insane. The two of them were already in this state by the time I arrived. Lin Ruotian shook his head. He wasn't exactly sure of the happenings either. He had to wait for the third elder's return to confirm the matter. Then, we should treat them quickly. Their wounds don't seem to be light. Seeing that the other party wasn't certain on this matter, Ji Feng chose not to dawdle on this topic. Their injuries seem to be a little bizarre. Ordinary physicians are incapable of treating them. I have already invited physician Mu Hong from the Physician Guild over. Judging from the time, he should be arriving soon. Lin Ruotian replied. Okay. Ji Feng nodded. Other than the guild leader Liu, who suddenly became famous recently, the most capable physician in the capital was physician Mu Hong. As the previous guild leader and a 3-star physician, he wasn't an easy figure to mobilize. Even so, he didn't dare to turn down an invitation from the clan head of the Lin clan. Chapter 379 Physician Mu Hong's Breakdown 2. Not too long later, Physician Mu Hong arrived under an elder's lead. Paying respects to Clan Head Lin and Clan Head Ji, Mu Hong clasped his fist and greeted impassively. As a 3-star physician, he had his own pride. Even though these two were powerful figures in the capital, given his standing, there was no need for him to act subserviently around them. Grandmaster Mu, I ask of you to save my son. Lin Ruotian hurriedly requested. Don't worry. Offering the other party an assurance, Mu Hong walked nonchalantly toward Lin Lang and Ji Mo, squatted down, and started examining the duo. There was no such thing as feeling one's pulse in this world, but examining, questioning, and listening were 3 fundamentals to diagnosing. Even though he couldn't question the other party due to their lack of consciousness, as a 3-star physician, he was still able to determine the rough problem the duo was suffering from. How is it? After a long moment of silence, Lin Ruotian couldn't hold back his anxiety any longer and asked nervously. Lin Lang was his only son, and he had always doted on him. Seeing the other party in such a state had left him discomposed. His injuries are severe. It seems like someone has struck him forcefully, relying solely brute force. If I'm not wrong, the person who injured him must be someone who is adept in physical body cultivation. After finishing his diagnosis, Mu Hong exhaled deeply and stood up. Placing his hands behind his back, he began explaining. Cultivators often used zhenqi when fighting with one another, and one of the most distinctive traits of injuries caused by zhenqi was that they tended to be internal. In other words, injuries sustained from fighting with another cultivator tended to be at one's meridians or organs. On the other hand, the two before him had their teeth knocked off, bones shattered, and skin ripped apart. It was clear that this was mostly done using physical strength. Thus, the culprit must either be an expert skilled in physical body cultivation or a savage beast. A physical body cultivator? Lin Ruotian frowned. He hadn't heard of anyone cultivating one's physical body to the level of a Zongsha realm in Tianwu Royal City. Perplexed, he looked at the physician Mu Hong worriedly and asked, Grandmaster Mu, is there any way to treat them? If not, I'll try looking for other physicians, or perhaps invite guild leader Liu over. Don't worry, it's just some superficial wounds. There's nothing to worry about. Hearing the doubt in the other party's voice and the words guild leader Liu, Mu Hong's face darkened and he gestured haughtily. In the past, he was the top physician in the Tianwu kingdom. No one dared to doubt his capability. But ever since Guild Leader Liu's appearance, everyone had been carrying doubts at his skills, and this left him dismal. Was Guild Leader Liu the only capable physician among them? Then, I'll be troubling Grandmaster Mu then. Hearing that the other party had a solution, Lin Ruotian and Ji Feng heaved a sigh of relief. UN. Not wasting any time, Mu Hong immediately flicked his wrist, and a jade bottle appeared in his hands. With a slight shake, medicinal fluid immediately flowed out and dripped on Lin Lang's exposed skin. TZZZZZZZ. Upon contact, bubbles started to appear on the wounds, and the glaring lacerations healed at a speed visible to one's eyes. Incredible. Seeing the apparent effects, Lin Ruotian and Ji Feng's eyes lit up. As expected of a 3-star physician, his skills were indeed superb. This is a medicinal fluid that I concocted by myself. It is exceptionally effective on external injuries. Regardless of what injury it is, upon contact with it, it'll heal quickly. It's truly a miraculous medicine. Seeing the surprise on the faces of the two, Physician Mu Hong nodded in satisfaction. However, halfway through his words, Lin Ruotian's face slowly turned into shock. Wait, Grandmaster Mu, look. Seeing the other party's bizarre reaction, Mu Hong immediately followed the other party's fingers and glanced at Lin Lang, and the sight before him left him dumbstruck. The wound that had just healed torn apart, and the laceration grew even larger than before. Even worse, blood flowed profusely out of the wound. Take for example, if the wound was 2 fingers wide before, after coming into contact with the medicinal fluid, not only did it not recover, it even became 3 fingers wide and started bleeding. What's going on? He had just bragged that his medicine was a private concoction when such a matter occurred. Mu Hong's complexion immediately turned awful. He quickly poured the fluid on another region. Ceela. Just like before, the regenerated flesh suddenly tore apart once more and became even more glaring. That can't be. He didn't expect such an abrupt change. With a flick of his wrist, Physician Mu Hong took out 7 to 8 different medicinal fluid and poured them into different wounds. These miraculous medicines for one's external wounds were also effective at the start, but before long, the wounds started tearing apart once more. It was just a while ago that Lin Lang's bleeding stopped and his condition stabilized, and they thought that with Physician Mu Hong's skills, Lin Lang could make a full recovery. However, not only did the latter fail to treat Lin Lang, he even caused the wounds to widen and blood started flowing profusely from them once more. With every passing second, Lin Lang's face was turning paler and paler. Grandmaster Mu, please stop for a moment. Seeing the other party grabbing another dozen bottles once more, clearly intending to try them one by one, Lin Ruotian shuddered and hurried forward to stop him. Grandmaster Mu, I invited you here to treat my son, not to kill him. If you continue on like this, my son will probably die from excessive bleeding before you manage to find the correct medicine. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Physician Mu Hong interjected as his face darkened. Trying all of the medicinal fluids in his storage ring one by one, the frown on his face slowly deepened, and his complexion turned more and more awful. Eventually, by the time he finished experimenting with all of his medicine, Lin Lang's breathing was already extremely faint, to the point that it seemed as though he was just a step away from death's embrace. So, how is it? Lin Ruotian's lips quivered vigorously. Even though his son was severely injured, he was still in a stable condition a short while ago. Yet, under Physician Mu Hong's hands, his son's condition deteriorated by the second, to the point that it seemed as though he would die at any moment. This made Lin Ruotian extremely frustrated, but he didn't dare to lash out at this moment. If not for Guild Leader Liu foiling his plans, making him subconsciously hostile toward him, he would have surely invited him over instead of Physician Mu Hong. If this previous guild leader was at a loss as well, Lin Ruotian had no idea what he should do next. Based on my diagnosis, Lin Langgong's wounds aren't just normal, superficial wounds. I'm afraid that he's poisoned. After hesitating for a moment, Mu Hong slowly answered. Poisoned? Lin Ruotian was taken aback. Could the person who attacked his son be a poison master? Otherwise, normal poison should be ineffective against Zongsha realm experts. Indeed, this poison is extremely bizarre, so I wasn't able to recognize it instantly. However, there's no need for you to worry too much about it. I will use my zhenqi to expel it. Once the poison is expelled, his injuries shouldn't open up again. By then, he'll recover swiftly. Physician Mu Hong replied. After trying out numerous medicines, he finally concluded that the other party had been poisoned. Otherwise, how could these medicines, which were effective on others, have such bizarre effects on him? However, there were countless different poisons in the world. Mu Hong wasn't a poison master who specialized in the field, so there was no way he could identify the poison Lin Lang was suffering from. Thus, the only possible treatment he could conduct was to forcefully expel the poison from the other party's body. I'll be depending on Grandmaster Mu then. Lin Ruotian hurriedly nodded. UN. Replying casually, Mu Hong helped Lin Lang up and sat cross-legged behind him. Placing his palm on the other party's back, he slowly infused a surge of zhenqi into the latter's body. There was a unique method to expel the poison from another person's body. As a 3-star physician, he had learned it before and was familiar with it. His zhenqi slowly flowed through the other party's meridians, checking them inch by inch. Here it is. Before long, Mu Hong found where the poison was located, and his eyes lit up. After one was poisoned, the poison would flow through one's meridians and travel around one's body. If one wanted to expel it, one had to locate it first. Otherwise, regardless of what solutions one used, if it was targeted at the wrong spot, it would all be for naught. Lin Lang Gongzi cultivates the Lin clan's cultivation technique, so his zhenqi should be of a completely different nature from mine, making it impossible for the two to fuse together. I just have to wrap my zhenqi around the poisoned zhenqi and force it out of his body. After finding the precise location, Mu Hong didn't get excited. Instead, he became even warier instead. Being poisoned meant that the poison had already fused with one's zhenqi and body. To expel it, one's zhenqi had to be of a different nature from the other party first. Otherwise, if the zhenqi were to fuse together, not only would one be unable to expel the poison, it was also highly likely that the poison from the patient would travel back to the one treating him. The Lin clan's cultivation technique that Lin Lang cultivated was completely different from that physician Mu Hong cultivated. To make an analogy, it was just like oil and water. As long as he proceeded carefully, it shouldn't be a problem for him to expel the poison zhenqi out. Physician Mu Hong carefully pushed his zhenqi toward the other party's poison zhenqi, and then, the two touched. Just as he was intending to expel that poison zhenqi out of Lin Lang's body, tzz la. An explosion sounded. It was as though fire meeting with gasoline. The poison immediately seeped into Physician Mu Hong's zhenqi. What? Physician Mu Hong's eyes narrowed. Before he could react, his hands swiftly turned black. Then, the poison immediately spread upward, turning his arms black as well. This. How is this possible? Mu Hong's face turned pale. He nearly turned insane on the spot. He had seen potent poison, but he had never seen one so formidable. He had personally treated a victim of a grade 2 poison before, and logically speaking, as long as his zhenqi was immiscible with that of the patient, the poison shouldn't pose any threat to him. After all, if their zhenqi doesn't fuse together, there was no medium for the poison to afflict him. What in the world was this? Why was his zhenqi immediately poisoned, as though gasoline coming into contact with flames? Damn it. It must be because pure zhenqi is contained within this poison. That kind of zhenqi is capable of fusing with any zhenqi. A thought suddenly flashed through Mu Hong's mind, and he recalled some records on a book. Given that his zhenqi swiftly fused with the other party, transmitting the poison during the process, there was only one possibility. That was, the one who poisoned Lin Lang possessed exceptionally pure zhenqi. This allowed the poison to fuse perfectly with his zhenqi, thus transmitting the poison to him in an instant. Doomed. Mu Hong's body swayed. Not only did he fail to cure Lin Lang of his poison, he even got poisoned instead. Mu Hong was on the verge of tears. He was just thinking that he could prove to the Lin clan that he wasn't inferior to Liu Cheng by treating Lin Lang successfully, yet the situation ended up like this. What in the world was this? Flicking his wrist, Mu Hong immediately took out an antidote and sucked on it in his mouth. Just as his condition just barely alleviated, Lin Ruotian walked over with a panicked expression and grabbed his hand. Grandmaster Mu, what's happened? Why did you stop? Mu Hong had just forcefully suppressed the poison aura from traveling around his body when the other party's sudden grasp interrupted his concentration. Suddenly, he lost control of his zhenqi, and the poison zhenqi immediately broke through the 2 blockages he had just created on his arms and spread across his entire body. Pu. A mouthful of blood spurted from Mu Hong's mouth. His body staggered weakly. There's something weird about his poison. Before Mu Hong could finish his words, his vision went dark and he fainted. Grandmaster Mu. Seeing a 3-star physician, as well as the previous guild leader of the Physician Guild faint on the spot, Lin Ruotian and Jifeng were stunned. Who can tell me what just happened? Physician Mu Hong, aren't you here to treat our sons? Why did Lin Lang's injury worsen with every action you took? Not only that, your face turned pitch black, and you even fainted. To think that a physician would get poisoned in the midst of his treatment and faint. Mu Hong, didn't you just confidently declare for us to not worry? Don't worry. With this kind of standard, I would be a fool not to worry. Chapter 380, Knocking. What do we do? Not only did they fail to treat the other party, the physician even fainted. Lin Ruotian and Jifeng stared at one another light-headed. What kind of opponent did Lin Lang and Ji-mo meet for them to land in such a state? Physician Mu Hong's medical skills are top-notch in Tianwu Kingdom. If even he is helpless toward their affliction, then no physician will be able to do anything. A moment later, Jifeng suddenly thought of something and said, unless we neutralize the poison in their bodies first. Neutralize the poison in their bodies? We don't even know what kind of poison it is, how can we neutralize it? Lin Ruotian shook his head. It was no easy feat to neutralize a poison. Without knowing that poison it was and the concentration of it that one consumed, it was impossible to do so. Indeed, if we wish to treat a poison which even Grandmaster Mu is helpless toward, we will require the help of a real poison master. Jifeng nodded. Poison master? Right, the great herb king of the Red Lotus City is currently in the capital. Hurry up and invite him over. I heard that Hall Master Liao Zun of the Poison Hall had just arrived yesterday as well. Invite him over too. Upon hearing the words Poison Master, Lin Ruotian's eyes lit up and he hurriedly issued several instructions. He had some connections with the great Herb King, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to procure the poison used to kill the gold-tailed lion. Hall Master Liao Zun? Isn't the Hall Master of the Poison Hall? Clan head Jifeng asked doubtfully. Jifeng didn't have much contact with the Poison Hall, but as one of the most feared and unique occupations, he knew a thing or two about it. He might not remember the name of the Hall Master precisely, but he was certain that it wasn't Liao Zun. Furthermore, what in the world was the Hall Master of the Poison Hall doing at Tianwu Royal City instead of his own base? I don't know the details either, but it seems like the previous Hall Master passed away, and his student had taken his place. The reason why he's here is to send off a seemingly formidable figure. Lin Ruotian pondered for a moment before replying. He had heard the news from the mouth of the great Herb King personally. It seemed like the headquarter had sent an envoy to their branch, and Hall Master Liao was here to see off the other party. Regardless of the reason, their presence is a secret. We mustn't let anyone learn of it. After explaining the situation, Lin Ruotian turned to look at Jifeng, and a menacing glint flashed across his eyes. Clan head Ji, I only told you the truth because of the several generations of close ties between our clans. You should know, better than most, what you should and shouldn't say. Poison masters had a hostile relationship with the other occupations. If other people were to learn that the Hall Master of the Poison Hall was here, it was highly likely that unnecessary conflict might occur. Clan head Lin, don't worry. My lips are sealed. Seeing the other party's stern expression, Jifeng's face turned grim as well and he hurriedly nodded in agreement. He had no choice but to submit. Given the Lin clan's strength, if he were to do anything excessive, the Ji clan might be history tomorrow. And the Tianwu royal family would be pleased to see such a sight. Large clans like theirs were a hindrance to the authority of the royal family. They would definitely be delighted to see them destroying one another. Not too long later, the great herb king and hall master Liao Zun arrived in the room. At this moment, Liao Zun already had the disposition and authority befitting that of a hall master. With his hands behind him and eyes that seemed to peer into the far distance, he felt like an unfathomable being. Upon seeing him, the incomparably arrogant Lin Ruotian and Ji Feng didn't dare to pull their weight at all. They hurriedly clasped their fists and greeted him. Lin Ruotian and Ji Feng pay respect to Hall Master Liao. Different from the other occupations, poison masters tended to have weird quirks in their character. If one were to offend a poison master, he could very well poison one without one noticing, and one would die with utmost grievance. UN. Seeing the respectful attitude of the two, Liao Zun nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, glancing at the duo, he asked, "May I know what business does clan head Lin have to invite me over so urgently?" "It's like this." Lin Ruotian immediately replied. "My unworthy son is afflicted with lethal poison, and even physician Mu Hong is helpless before it. Thus, I invited you over in hopes that you could save him." "Afflicted with lethal poison?" Liao Zun glanced at the trio lying on the ground, including physician Mu Hong, impassively and replied, "They're indeed poisoned. However, why should I help you? What business of it is mine that your son got poisoned? Other people might be eager to suck up to your Lin clan, but I'm not interested in it at all." This. Seeing the nonchalance on the other party's face, Lin Ruotian's face flushed. He felt so stifled that he could puke blood at this moment. The Lin clan was the #1 clan in Tianwu Kingdom, and all along, he had been the one to crush others with his authority and demanding for privileges from others. When was anyone able to speak to him like that? However, before this dangerous man, he didn't dare to act up at all. The other party was indeed weaker than him, but poison masters tended to have numerous bizarre means up their sleeves, and they couldn't be measured simply by their cultivation. There were plenty of weak people who were capable of killing experts stronger than them. Not only was this Liao Zun the hall master of the Poison Hall, he was also a Zongsha realm pinnacle expert as well. It was in Lin Ruotian's best interest not to offend the other party. Otherwise, if the other party were to fly into a rage, he might just poison everyone in the residence. Thinking of this, no matter how infuriated Lin Ruotian was, he could only suppress his rage down. With a flick of his wrist, a jade bottle appeared in his grasp. This is the Golden Origin Pill, a Grade 3 intermediate pill. This is forged by Grandmaster Tai Yu of Shenyuan Kingdom, and it has reached the level of perfection. It'll definitely help your cultivation to advance upon consumption, and you might even step into the level of a half Jizuan. The attribute of the Golden Origin Pill was metal, and metal had a sharp nature. The pill carried the effect of breaking through the bottlenecks one faced in one's cultivation. Furthermore, at the level of perfection, the value of this pill was immense, rivaling that of a spirit stone. It wasn't an easy decision for Lin Ruotian to take this out. Golden Origin Pill? Without even looking at it, Liao Zun waved his hands in disdain and said, "Pills are useless to poison masters. Don't even bother taking such stuff out, you'll embarrass yourself." Poison masters cultivated poison attribute cultivation techniques, and they consumed poisonous substances to augment their cultivation. Pills didn't have much of a use to them. This. Not expecting that the other party would treat the item he had to undergo a mental turmoil to take out with disdain, Lin Ruotian's face immediately reddened in embarrassment. At this moment, he was completely lost, not knowing what else he could offer the other party. "All right, how about this? I'll state my terms, and as long as you can accomplish it, not only will I help you resolve your son's poison, I can even kill someone for you." Liao Zun glanced at Lin Ruotian and said, "Feel free to speak." Seeing that the situation wasn't completely hopeless, a spark of hope appeared in Lin Ruotian's eyes. "Simple. I heard that your Lin clan is extremely influential in the kingdom. Thus, I hope that you can help to construct a trading hub for poison masters in the capital." Liao Zun revealed his motive. If not for this, he would never have come here. Poison masters couldn't just stay in the poison hall for their entire life. They also had to come out and trade with others. If a trading hub could be built here, it would mean that the identity of poison masters would be officially recognized. If so, they could avoid many troubles, and there would be no need for them to intentionally hide from public view. Lin Ruotian hesitated for a moment. I believe that you should know that even though our Lin clan possess immense authority in Tianwu Kingdom, we aren't the true ruler of the country. I'm afraid that we might incur the displeasure of the guilds if we were to build a trading hub here all of the sudden. Don't beat around the bush. The great Herb King has already told me what you're up to. Didn't you poison the gold-tailed lion so that you can replace the monarchy? Don't worry. As long as you agree to my request, we have a poison that can deal with that Jizuan realm guardian beast. Liao Zun replied impassively. You have a poison that can deal with Jizuan realm savage beasts. Lin Ruotian's eyes lit up. The sudden breakthrough of the gold-tailed lion had forced him to rein him in ambitions. The promise of Hall Master Liao had caused his ambitions to emerge once more. Honestly speaking, even without opening up a trading hub, poison masters were still trading in public. In truth, the Red Lotus City was already the largest trading hub for poison masters. In a sense, opening a trading hub in the capital wouldn't change anything, yet at the same time, he could pull an expert to his side. Why should he turn down such a beneficial deal? Thus, Lin Ruotian nodded, and just as he was about to speak, a guard suddenly rushed in. Clan head, this is bad. Even before reaching the room, the guard's voice had already sounded. What's wrong? Interrupted, Lin Ruotian was displeased. The third elder, he. The lips of the guard who came in quivered violently. What's wrong? Did he catch the culprit? What's there to panic about if the culprit has been caught? Lin Ruotian asked. Given that the third elder had gone out personally to apprehend the culprit, it was likely that the culprit had already been killed by now. That's not it. Someone has sent the third elder back. He is severely wounded, and is currently unconscious. Furthermore what? Someone has kicked his lower body, and is already completely inept. The guard was on the verge of tears. Kicked his lower body? Lin Ruotian was stunned for a moment before frenzy spread across his entire face. Who is it? Who is the one who dares to assault a member of our Lin clan? The heck? The Lin clan had always been a dominant power in the capital, an influence that no one dared to provoke. What in the world was going on today? First, his son was pummeled by someone and thrown into the fecal drain. Then, the third elder, who had gone on to investigate the matter, was kicked infertile. When did the Lin clan become such easy targets to bully? If they were to remain motionless before such clear provocation, how could the Lin clan establish its might in Tianwu Kingdom? It's the royal palace who sent them back here. It said that the culprit who assaulted the young master had escaped to the royal palace, but the third elder still managed to track him down through the seeking mouse. Eventually, a fight occurred, and the third elder has been reduced to such a state from a kick by his opponent. As for the other guards, we don't know whether they're still alive or not. The guard revealed everything that he knew about the matter. The one who attacked the third elder seemed to be the new guild leader of the Physician Guild, Liu Cheng, and the one who attempted to assassinate young master is his student. The Lin clan had spies in Tianwu Kingdom, so it wasn't difficult for them to get their hands on this news. Liu Cheng? Damn it. To dare to injure my son and the third elder, he's disregarding the authority of our Lin clan. I swear that I will kill him. After clarifying the entire issue, Lin Ruotian howled frenziedly. Where did this fellow come from? Why did he keep hindering the Lin clan? Was he addicted to it? We are already very kind to overlook the matter of you curing the gold-tailed lion and hindering our ploy. Yet, you still dare to send your student to assassinate my son, even going to the extent of injuring the third elder yourself. You are just an honorary guild master. Did you think that you are some big shot? Men, capture Liu Cheng and bring him to me. If I don't kill him, I won't be able to quell the anger boiling in me. Feeling so stifled that he could spurt blood, Lin Ruotian gestured grandly, and the aura of a conqueror slowly exuded from him. Who cares that you are some mere guild master or genius? I'll kill those who dare to offend me. Even if the Physician Guild headquarters were to investigate this issue in the future, I would stand on the side of reason. Before he could finish issuing his instructions, another guard ran over anxiously and reported, "Clan head, this is bad. That guild master Liu and his student are already at our door, saying that they'll settle the score with our Lin clan today and return justice to the world. They demand us to apologize." Apologize? He injured our men, and he still wants us to apologize. With eyes turning crimson, the final string of Lin Ruotian's sanity snapped. Chapter 381. My students cannot be bullied. Is there something wrong with him? Lin Ruotian was the clan head of the number 1 clan of Qianwu Kingdom, a 3-star formation master, and a half-Jizuan expert. Of the 13 countries, everyone would bow to him in utmost respect, not even daring to breathe loudly for fear of incurring his wrath. Yet, not only did this fellow pummel his son and an elder of the clan, he even came here to settle the score, saying that he wanted to return justice to the world. The heck? I should be the one settling the score with you. What the heck are you here for? Liu Cheng, you rascal, I will make you regret your actions. Did you think that our Lin clan is something you can play with? Let me tell you, our Lin clan has never feared anyone before. Since you are so anxious to die, I'll grant your wish. With a face completely stiffened with anger, Lin Ruotian prepared to head out to see what the other party was up to when a voice so loud that it echoed throughout the entire capital sounded. The head of the Lin clan, whoever you are, hurry up and get out here to apologize. Otherwise, don't blame me for getting nasty. A voice seething with rage boomed across the lands. The heck? Who the heck is that? He must be insane to dare to pick a fight with the Lin clan, to be so disrespectful to the Lin clan. What's going on? Hearing the deafening voice, everyone was scared out of their wits. Openly provoking the Lin clan? Who could that brazen fellow be? Isn't he being too gutsy? Get nasty with his meager ability? Isn't he afraid of biting his tongue bragging like that? He must be tired of living. The declaration outside sent the Lin clan's hall into an uproar. The eyes of the elders turned red with fury, and they were about to faint from anger. Ever since the Lin clan's rise to power, when had anyone dared to insult them publicly right at their door? How dare that conceited physician do so? Damn it! Elders, follow me. Let's slaughter that arrogant fellow. Bellowing furiously, Lin Ruotian started walking outside. But halfway through, he suddenly recalled something and turned to look at the Great Herb King and Hall Master Liao Zun. Hall Master Liao and the Great Herb King. I might have to trouble you two on something. UN. The duo stared at one another. My son and G-Clan's Gongzi were poisoned by the student of Liu Cheng, so there's a high probability that his student might be a poison master as well. It is difficult for me, even as a half-Jizuan, to deal with a poison master. Thus, I hope that Hall Master can help me. Poison master? If he is one, I would definitely know of him. Otherwise, he probably only learnt some superficial stuff outside. Hall Master Liao nodded as he gestured casually. All right. Leave that little ant to me. It isn't anything much anyway. As the Hall Master of the Poison Hall, there was no reason for him to not know any poison masters in this vicinity. Since he had never heard of the other party, that could only mean that he wasn't anything at all. Thank you. Lin Ruotian's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly nodded. Actually, what he feared the most wasn't Liu Cheng, but his poison-using student. Even physician Mu Hong was unable to resolve the poison on Lin Lang, which goes to show how dangerous the poison was. Given how Lin Ruotian didn't know a single thing about poison, there was a high chance he might fall to it as well. Since the Hall Master of the Poison Hall was willing to make a move, then there was no need for him to worry at all. Let's go. With sufficient backing at hand, Lin Ruotian immediately led the various elders, Liao Zun, Grand Elder, Jifeng, and the others out. Returning to an hour ago. After stretching his back lazily, Zhongxian walked out from the kingdom's book collection vault. After more than 2 hours of hard work, he had finally added all of the books to the Library of Heaven's Path. Due to him overexerting himself and collecting the books too quickly, he felt like groggy-headed at the moment. It was fortunate that he had experienced a significant rise in his cultivation recently, and he had been nourished by the insight energy when he became a celestial master teacher, thus strengthening his soul significantly. Otherwise, He would have definitely fainted halfway through by the violent jolt in his head given the speed he was collecting at. Right now, I am only lacking the books at the Physician Guild and Formation Master Guild. I should find some time to finish those books there before using the golden page. Zhongxian muttered silently. He wasn't anxious to use the golden page. It was a one-time consumable, and he wanted to maximize what he got out of it. Liu Laroche. The moment he walked out, Lu Chong immediately stepped forward and clasped his fist respectfully. Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu were around as well, and they immediately walked up to Zhongxian. It wasn't that they didn't wish to leave, but they dared not to. If they were to leave now, what would they do about those fellows lying on the floor? You haven't sent them back yet? Seeing that the third elder was still convulsing on the floor, Zhongxian was taken aback. The imperial physicians of the royal palace had conducted a primary treatment on them, but given how severe their injuries were, this primary treatment was only sufficient to prevent their injuries from worsening. Send them back. Mo Tianxue scratched his head. You didn't say how we should go about settling this. How do we know what we should do? Sending them back was no different from declaring war on the Lin clan. There would be no retreat if they were to do so. We can't possibly leave them to die here. Shaking his head casually, Zhongxian turned his attention from the wounded to Lu Chong and said, You should be able to tell me about your enemies now, right? For fear of implicating his teacher, Lu Chong beat around the bush when Zhongxian asked him the last time. However, since Zhongxian was already involved in the matter, it should be all right for Lu Chong to explain the entire happenings already. Upon hearing his question, Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu's attention was piqued. They also wanted to know what in the world happened that made this fellow beat up even the young master of the Lin clan. Yes. Knowing that there was no use hiding it any longer, Lu Chong finally nodded and explained, Actually, my name is not Lu Chong but Chu Chong. I am the young master from Tianwu Kingdom's Chu clan. Chu clan? The Chu clan whose entire clan of 137 people was killed 2 years ago. They still have an offspring alive. Glancing at one another, Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu were filled with shock. Yes, I managed to survive that ordeal. With reddened eyes, Lu Chong gritted his teeth. You two know about this matter as well? Zhongxian frowned. Could it be that the royal family colluded with the Lin clan and helped to conceal the matter? We do, but we had no choice then. Lin Long, Lin Lang's elder sister and the princess consort of Shenyuan Kingdom, issued an order personally, and a Jizuan realm expert came personally to destroy the entire clan. At this, the usually calm emperor couldn't help but take in a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. There were many seniors and children in the mix. After the event, I went personally to take a look, and they didn't spare a single person. Everyone was killed in a single blow. Upon hearing his words, Lu Chong seemed to have returned back to the time 2 years ago. Tears began to ripple in his eyes, threatening to trickle down at any moment. He was only 17 years old this year. Back then, when the tragedy struck, he was only 15 years old. For a 15-year-old to see his parents and kin being reduced to corpses, the agony he had undergone was hard to imagine. What happened? Zhongxian narrowed his eyes. He felt outraged, his blood boiled. Even though he hadn't undergone this kind of pain before, he could almost see the sorrow and despair on his student's face then. If that wasn't the case, how could a 15-year-old child kneel quietly outside an academy for several days straight, all just to gain the strength to exact vengeance? He also wouldn't have endured the torture from the tempering of the poison body and forcefully raised his strength to Zongsha realm intermediate stage in just a few days. I heard that Lin Lang had set his eyes upon the Chu clan's young mistress, Chu Ling, but the latter refused to give in to him at all, injuring him even. If I'm not wrong, his injury was somewhat similar to that of the third elder, and this caused Lin Long to fly into a rage. Thus, she sent a subordinate to exact vengeance on the Chu clan. Mo Tianxue spoke of what he knew of the matter. Glancing at his silent student, Zhongxian reorganized the story in his head. Lin Lang was probably infatuated with Chu Ling, and he forced himself on her. In the end, the latter accidentally struck his vitals, causing him to become infertile. Having terminated the Lin clan's lineage, Lin Long flew into a rage and sent a Jizuan realm expert to exact vengeance. Even though the fault is on Lin Lang, they chose to blame the Chu clan for it, killing the entire clan for this matter. Zhong Xian's face was scarily dark. Ever since his reincarnation, it was the first time he had flown into a rage. Raping a woman and going to the extent of destroying the other party's family. In the face of the master-teacher pavilion, how dare they commit such atrocities? Teacher, please redress my grievances. Clenching his fists tightly, Putong, Lu Chong kneeled on the floor. His entire body trembled in agitation. Don't worry. Now that I know of this matter, I'll definitely find justice for you. Anger burned in the eyes of Zhong Xian, and he gestured grandly, let's go. After which, he walked behind the men who were in the midst of sending Third Elder and the others to the Lin clan. Guildmaster Liu, what are you intending to do? Seeing the other party walking away without saying a single word, Mo Tianxue gulped down a mouthful of saliva and asked. Mo Yu also couldn't help but look over. Not much, just seeking justice for Lu Chong. Placing his hands behind his back, Zhong Xian's impassive voice wafted in the air. He could ignore everything else, but he felt that he should return justice to the 137 people the Lin clan killed, and let everyone know that. My students cannot be bullied. What did you say? Teacher brought Lu Chong to the Lin clan, and he is currently insulting the other party on their doorstep. In Liu Laosh's classroom in the Tianwu Academy, Mu Xueqing stared at Meng Dao in disbelief. The Lin clan was the strongest clan in Tianwu Kingdom, even her father had to tread carefully around them. Yet, her teacher actually ran to the other party's doorstep to insult them. Are you for real? Teacher had always been a calm person. Why did he suddenly commit such foolishness? You remember that Lu Chong left to exact his vengeance, right? Worried about him, teacher asked me to send some men to keep a lookout on the situation in the capital these past few days, and this is what my men just told me. Meng Dao continued, those men are my father's trusted aides, so there's no mistake about it. Exact vengeance. Could it be that Lu Chong's enemy is the Lin clan? It was no wonder that fellow pretended to be mute. With this kind of enemies, she wouldn't dare to say anything either. Enemies of this level were even more fearsome than facing the royal family of Tianwu Kingdom. Mu Xueqing felt as though she was going insane. No, we can't stand idly by the side when teacher is in trouble. After recovering from her shock, Mu Xueqing clenched her fists tightly, and determination gleamed in her eyes. How could they, as students, remain unmoved when their teacher is in trouble? Even if others could, she, Mu Xueqing, couldn't do it. Senior, we'll go as well. Senior, bring us along too. Teacher is our benefactor, and now that he's in trouble, how can we wait here idly? Mu Xueqing's words immediately stirred the entire group. It hadn't been long since they'd met Liu Laosha, but they could sense their teacher's earnest concern for them, and this filled them with respect for him. Chapter 382, Shadows of a Storm. They couldn't remain motionless toward a teacher who was willing to offend the Lin clan for his own student. All right. Even though we've decided to help Liu Laosha, our strength alone isn't sufficient. I know that everyone here has rather strong backing, so I hope that you all will try to mobilize them. Only then can we truly help Liu Laosha. Even though Mu Xueqing had an urge to charge over at this very instant to help her teacher, she knew that being rash was useless. She would only be a burden. While she didn't have too many classmates, each of them had a powerful background. Taking Meng Dao for example, his father was the guild leader of the Painter Guild, 3-star painter Meng Yuan. The others were the same as well. If they could mobilize all of these forces together, even the Lin clan would be hesitant to lay their hands on their teacher. All right. Hearing their senior's words, the crowd knew that this was the best solution at hand. Thus, they nodded in agreement. Let's start now then. Remember, we have to be fast. After instructing the group, Mu Xueqing immediately dashed to the Apothecary Guild. Zhao Wei, let me tell you some good news. At that moment, in the residence that physician Bai prepared for Zhong Xian, Yuan Dao ran over to Zhao Wei with an excited expression. What good news? A beautiful lady glanced at Yuan Dao curiously. At this moment, Zhao Wei's aura felt deep and dense, and one could sense fearsome strength within it. Even though she was only standing quietly on the spot, one could feel an extremely powerful pressure emanating from her. Zhongsha Realm Intermediate Stage. As expected of a Grade 4 pill, using the frigid yin pill to further awaken her physical constitution, her strength immediately surged. From Pishua Realm, she broke through several realms to reach her current level. Her improvement was so huge that anyone who heard of it would be scared to death. After the consumption of the frigid yin pill, her pure yin body had been successfully awoken to 20%. Her disposition became even more refined, and her outer appearance looked even more enchanting than before. If she was a rare beauty before, then she must be a fairy now. Even if Mo Yu were to appear before her, she would definitely feel embarrassed by her own form, not daring to compare with her. Those possessing unique constitutions were people favored by the heavens. The moment it was awakened, one would gain overwhelming talent. This was the reason why countless people dreamt of possessing one. But of course, the awakening of a unique constitution was also extremely difficult. There were plenty of people who knew that they possessed a unique constitution, but despite their hard work, even when knocking on death's door, they weren't able to trigger their potential at all. In the end, they could only die in regret. While the Unravel Yin Pill and Frigid Yin Pill did trigger the awakening of Zhao Yue's pure yin body, they only played a supporting role. The main reason was because she cultivated a simplified version of the Heaven's Path divine art. Her pure zhenqi allowed strength to flow through her meridians and acupoints perfectly. It was with this foundation that her cultivation was able to progress swiftly without leaving behind any traumas. If it was anyone else, they would definitely face numerous problems in the midst of their cultivation. That shameless Liu Laroche has met some trouble. Yuan Dao's eyes shone in excitement. After lacing the other party's teapot with poison, he had been waiting for news of Liu Laroche being poisoned to arrive. In the end, he never heard anything about the poison, but instead, he learned of a far larger affair. What trouble? Zhao Yue was bewildered. There is a student beneath him who we never met before known as Lu Chong. For some reason, his clan offended the Lin clan, and the latter purged his entire family. Unwilling to see his student suffer such injustice silently, Liu Laroche rushed to the Lin clan to cause a huge ruckus. Yuan Dao chuckled. Lin clan? You mean Tianwu Kingdom's #1 clan? Having been in the kingdom for a period of time, she had already heard of the various powers throughout the kingdom several times by now. The Lin clan was an extremely fearsome existence. Putting aside their immense influence, they even had Shenyuan Kingdom as their backing. It was said that even the Tianwu royal family dared not to offend him. Why would this Liu Laroche rush there to cause a ruckus? Right, that Lin clan. He went to their doorstep to insult them, demanding that they apologize. Yuan Dao chuckled delightfully. No matter how formidable you might be, you are just an ordinary teacher. Tongxian Realm Primary Stage, and you dare to cause a ruckus at the Lin clan, whose strongest expert is a half-Jizuan. If this isn't courting death, what can this be? You mean that he went there for the sake of his own student? Disregarding Yuan Dao's glee, Zhao Yue frowned. Despite having just arrived, they have already learned how fearsome the Lin clan was. There was no reason why Liu Laroche would be ignorant of it. Despite knowing the risks, he was willing to brave through the flames for the sake of his student. How much courage did that take? How could such a noble person also be an unreasonable person? Could it be that they have been misunderstanding him all this time? You're right. Not expecting Zhao Yue to be concerned about an entirely different matter, Yuan Dao pondered for a moment while scratching his head. Call the others over as well and tell them of this matter. After hesitating for a moment, Zhao Yue instructed. She was the strongest among Zhongshen's 5 students, and she seemed to have taken the role of the de facto leader of the group, especially now that Zhongshe wasn't around. Yes. Yuan Dao walked out. Not too long later, Zheng Yang, Wang Ying, and Liu Yang arrived as well. Zhao Yue, what's your view on this matter? Upon entering, Zheng Yang immediately spoke up. Clearly, Yuan Dao had already explained the matter to them clearly before. That Liu Laroche failed to remain impartial during the duel between me and Mu Shueqing, But his willingness to stand up against authority for the sake of his own student makes him a respectable teacher. Zhao Huaiye replied. She didn't have a good impression of Liu Laroche, and she had some qualms with his way of doing things, but the truth is the truth. She couldn't conceal it, and she couldn't pretend not to see it either. Indeed. Zheng Yang nodded. Why don't we go over and take a look? If we were to watch idly as something happens to such a good teacher who cares about his own students, Zhongshe will definitely blame us when he returns. After a moment of consideration, Zhao Huaiye made a suggestion. Zhongshe was exactly the same kind of teacher as Liu Laroche. If the two of them knew each other, they would definitely see a soulmate in one another. Since Zhongshe was currently in the midst of the 2-star examination, there was a responsibility for them, as his students, to stand up. That's right, Zhongshe would do anything for us. This Liu Laroche would also give his all for his own students. We can't allow anything to happen to such a good teacher. No matter what, we have to go over and take a look. Zheng Yang nodded. Even though their strength was lacking as compared to the Lin clan, they represented Zhongshe. Even if the other party wanted to take any actions, they would have to consider Zhongshe. All right, let's go. Upon coming to a decision, the others nodded as well. Given how Liu Laroche was willing to stand up against the Lin clan for his own student, it wasn't surprising that Mu Xueqing and the others were able to fight against them without backing down at all. Such a teacher was indeed worthy of respect. He possessed character and charisma similar to Zhongshe. Rash, too rash. Hearing the report from his subordinate, Mo Tianxue was nearly scared out of his wits. As the emperor of the kingdom, every single action of his represented that of the kingdom. As such, when Zhongxian left, he wasn't able to tag along. Thus, he had been getting his men to keep tabs, and upon hearing the news he nearly passed out from shock. He thought that the fellow was only going to the Lin clan to have them explain themselves and apologize, but who could have thought that he would start to criticize the other party at their doorstep, even demanding the clan head to come out. The heck? Wasn't this courting death? Men, gather all of the troops in the kingdom and have them wait for further orders. Gritting his teeth, Mo Tianxue commanded. Nothing can happen to Guild Master Liu. Putting aside the favor he had shown in treating the guardian beast, just his identity as the guild master of the Physician Guild made him a target worthy of protection. Besides, the Lin clan had also stepped on his bottom line. If it came down to it, he'd turn against the Lin clan. In any case, even if he were to try to fawn on the Lin clan, it was impossible for them to back down anyway. Yes. A person with a commander's bearing swiftly left the hall. Mo Yu, go over to the Lin clan to take a look. If they make a move on Guild Master Liu, try to stop them. After making a few more arrangements, Mo Tianxue beckoned Mo Yu, and the duo hurriedly rushed to the Lin clan. As the number 1 clan of the kingdom, their main residence wasn't stationed too far from the royal palace. It didn't take long for the duo to arrive at the vicinity of the Lin clan residence. Outside the residence, they could see a huge bunch of people gathered around. Taking a closer look, the both of them were dumbstruck. That's Demonic Hands Chen Jianze, the eccentric Zhongshe realm pinnacle expert who cut down his enemies' hands to cook and eat. I thought that he doesn't interfere in worldly affairs. Why is he here? That's the guild leader of the Painter Guild, Meng Yuan. Isn't he still in the midst of his painting journey? The guild leader of the Apothecary Guild, 3-star Apothecary Hong Yun, and Apothecary Mu Yang, the boss of Tianwu Bank. Seeing the group of people gathered before them, Mo Tianxue and Mo Yu were stunned. All of them were esteemed figures that could shake the capital at its core. It would be an extremely difficult task for even the royal family to gather them. Why would all of them gather here all of a sudden? Could it be that the Lin clan has gathered them together to deal with Guild Master Liu? Wait. But there should be no need for them to gather all of these people just to deal with him. A thought flashed through Mo Tianxue's head, but he immediately shook his head. Given the influence of the Lin clan, it was a walk in the park to subdue a single Liu Laroche. There was no need for them to utilize all of these connections. Father, they are here to help Guild Master Liu. Mo Yu spoke up. Upon hearing those words, Mo Tianxue suddenly noticed that they were all standing behind Guild Master Liu, as though acknowledging him as their leader. In other words, they were here to support this guild master Liu. But why? Even if the royal family were to fight with the Lin clan, it would be impossible for him to gather so many people together. How in the world did a Tongxian realm primary stage teacher who had just arrived at Tianwu Academy possess such immense rallying power? Even Mo Tianxue felt faint-headed, and he was on the verge of going insane. Perhaps it could be his unique charisma. Mo Yu sighed softly. Even though she was a proud princess and a genius, she couldn't help but admit that this Zhongxian seemed to possess a certain magic to him. He seemed to be able to win over all of the people around him and, as though a rolling snowball, his influence seemed to grow by the day. It would be impossible for anyone to imitate his charisma, not even Mo Hongyi. Look, clan head Lin is out. So many elders. It seems like the entire Lin clan has been mobilized. But I guess that's to be expected. After all, no one can stand having a person criticizing them at their front door. In the midst of his contemplation, a commotion suddenly broke out in front. Mo Tianxue hurriedly looked over and saw clan head Lin Ruotian leading a group of elders out. His face was as cold as ice. Chapter 383. Then I'll beat you until you make up your mind, your Liu Cheng? Seeing the young man standing outside, Lin Ruotian narrowed his eyes. Given how arrogant the other party was, he thought that he would be a formidable figure. Yet, contrary to his expectations, the other party was only a Tongxian realm primary stage fellow. There were so many cultivators of his level in the residence that he wouldn't think it was a pity even if he were to kill a handful of them. Yet, such a person dared to seek trouble with their Lin clan. Was there something wrong with his head? You're the head of the Lin clan? Ignoring the other party's question, Zhongxian placed his hands behind his back and looked at him indifferently. Teacher, his Lin Ruotian, the head of the Lin clan. Lu Chong clenched his fists tightly. Back then, when Lin Long sent someone to eradicate his entire clan, this Lin Ruotian must have participated in the operation as well. Otherwise, how could Lin Long, who had already moved to Shenyuan Kingdom, be so clear of the Chu clan situation so as to track and kill every single one of them cleanly? For the past 2 years, even though Lu Chong didn't take any action, he had seared the appearance of all of the Lin clan members deeply into his head. Lin Ruotian. Upon hearing that the other party was indeed the head of the clan, Zhongxian nodded in satisfaction. Since you're the clan head, this matter will be much easier to settle. 2 years ago, you killed my student Chu Chong's entire clan of 137 people. Do you still remember the matter? Chu Chong. That little bastard who got away. Lin Ruotian was taken aback. A young lad from the Chu clan had managed to escape 2 years ago. Due to the limited talent and cultivation of that fellow, he didn't think too much of the matter. Yet, to think that the very same brat would eventually become a threat to him. In less than 2 years, the other party had actually already reached Zongsha realm. However, since the other party had come knocking on his own accord, then don't expect to get away alive. Killing intent gleamed in Lin Ruotian's eyes. With a slight gesture, a few elders immediately spread out and circled Zhongxian and Lu Chong tightly. Since you're still here, allow me to send you on a journey to reunite with your family. Sneering coldly, the corner of Lin Ruotian's lips slowly crept upward. Killed an entire clan of 137 people? Clan head Lin, what's going on? Indeed. I've heard of the Chu clan, but didn't they move away? Why is Liu Laroche saying that they were killed? The kingdom forbids murder, needless to say, purging an entire clan. You have to explain yourself today. Those in the area were all respectable figures. Upon hearing the conversation of the duo, their sense of righteousness was immediately provoked. The Chu clan might not be a prestigious clan, but it still possessed a sizable influence. The news that everyone else had received was that the clan had relocated to another city. Never in their dreams did they expect the clan to be slaughtered callously instead. It was no wonder why Chu Chong's teacher would come knocking. How could anyone overlook such great injustice? Even though they were dragged here by their offspring, they only intended to act as mediators for any conflict that would occur. They had no intentions of standing against the Lin clan at all. But upon hearing this tragic case, their faces immediately darkened. Since the Lin clan was capable of silently wiping the Chu clan off the face of this world, they could easily do the same to their clans as well. At this moment, they felt threatened by the domineering Lin clan. "There's no need for our Lin clan to explain our affairs to you all." Gesturing grandly to stop the commotion among the crowd, Lin Ruotian sneered coldly. The Chu clan had colluded with Qianwu Kingdom's enemies and attempted to assault the princess consort. This matter has been verified, and if you all believe it, feel free to check it with Shenyuan Kingdom. You. Rubbish. Not expecting the other party to slander his clan instead, Lu Chong's entire body trembled in anger. Enough. Since we can use other methods to resolve the issue, let's not waste our time on word. Patting his student's shoulder, Zhongxian glanced at Lin Ruotian impassively and said, "Since you have admitted that the Lin clan is responsible for the destruction of the Chu clan, I'll offer you two choices. You can either hand the culprit over and have him held responsible for his own crimes, or have the entire Lin clan die for his sins." Die for his sins? You actually think that you two can destroy our Lin clan? Ha ha ha. As though hearing a hilarious joke, Lin Ruotian stared at Zhongxian in pity. Where in the world did Chu Chong find such a lunatic of a teacher? If he had continued hiding, Lin Ruotian would have just allowed him to be, and he might still be able to continue living on peacefully. Yet, to attempt to assassinate his son and injure the third elder. Lin Ruotian wasn't magnanimous enough to forgive them for that. A mere Tongxian realm primary stage and Zongsha realm intermediate stage. Did they think that such a lineup was sufficient to destroy the entire Lin clan? Even if Liu Cheng had been hiding his cultivation, otherwise it would have been impossible for him to injure the third elder, given his young age, and the limitations of Qianwu Kingdom. How powerful could he get? So what if the other party was a Zongsha realm pinnacle expert? As a half Zhizuan, he could still easily squash him. He wasn't the only one who felt this way. Even those who came to support Liu Larosha felt awkward as well. To declare he would destroy the entire Lin clan. Even Qianwu Kingdom's royal family didn't dare to spout such words. For a mere Tongxian realm primary stage cultivator to spout such words, where does your confidence come from? Mo Tianxue was also perplexed. Where in the world did Guild Master Liu get such confidence from? He couldn't help but turn to his daughter. "I don't know either." Mo Yu shook her head. During the master-teacher examination back then, she personally saw Zhongxian achieving a breakthrough into Zongsha realm. It had only been 6 to 7 days since then, and such a short period of time wasn't sufficient for one to finish reinforcing their cultivation realm, needless to say, reach higher heights. Yet, for him to come over here and arrogantly declare that he would destroy the Lin clan. Could it be that he had brought the Steelfang howling firmament beast here as well? As such a thought popped into her mind, she immediately looked into the skies. But in the clear and cloudless skies, she couldn't see any hint of the savage beast at all. The howling firmament beast wasn't here? Then on what grounds was he saying these words? Wasn't he afraid of incurring Lin Ruotian's rage? You mean that you refuse both of the options? Ignoring the bizarre gazes everyone was shooting him with, Zhongxian gazed at Lin Ruotian. Agree your head, brat, since you are courting death, I'll grant your wish. Before Lin Ruotian could speak, an elder among the group could not hold himself back anymore. Roaring furiously, he stepped forth. Boom. The moment he walked out of the group, his aura immediately burst forth as though gasoline being ignited. Vigorous zhenqi shrouded the entire area, causing the wind to blow furiously. Zongsha Realm Advanced Stage. It's the 11th elder of the Lin clan, Lin Hu. I heard that he specializes in fist art, and is unmatched in hand-to-hand fights. Out of respect, people have given him the moniker Steel Arm Tiger. His invincible arms paired with his Zongsha Realm Advanced Stage cultivation make it difficult for even a typical Zongsha Realm pinnacle to triumph over him. Upon identifying the one who walked out, the crowd immediately whispered quietly amongst themselves. Every single one of the Lin clan's elders were famous figures in Qianwu Royal City. This Lin who might not be as famous as the Grand Elder Lin Dao, but he was still a reputable figure in the capital. He was a formidable person whom even Zongsha Realm pinnacle experts were hesitant to cross blows with. His appearance caused Mu Xueqing and the others to subconsciously clench their fists. Will teacher be alright? One of the students asked. He should be. Actually, we don't even know how strong teacher is. Mu Xueqing said. Even though Mu Xueqing's words were confident, her tone betrayed her uncertainty. However, thinking about how her teacher managed to help her to reach Tongxian realm and Lu Chong to reach Zongsha realm in just a few short days. How could a person of such incredible means be weak himself? Don't worry. If anything, I'm confident that Liu Laosh's strength can't only be at Tongxian realm primary stage, said Apothecary Mu calmly with a deep gaze. He had never seen Liu Laosha fighting before, but he had the experience of forging a pill with the other party. To be able to remain nonchalant before the forging a grade 4 pill despite the potential threat of an explosion, how could such a person only be at Tongxian realm primary stage? Besides, all of the methods that Liu Laosha brought up to prevent explosion happened to be within his means as a Zongsha realm expert. If Liu Laosha wasn't at the Zongsha realm himself, how could he possibly offer such detailed, precise, and accurate guidance? They're going to start fighting soon. At this point, Zhao Ya and the others finally arrived. Upon seeing the sight before them, they immediately realized that a fight was about to start. Die. After walking out from the group, Elder Lin Hu bellowed, and without any hesitation, he charged straight at Zhong Xian. Didn't you want our Lin clan to apologize or die for our sins? Fine, then let's see if you have the strength to back up your word. Teacher. Seeing the other party rush forward, Lu Chong tightened his fists and prepared to step forward. There's no need. Shaking his head, Zhong Xian took a deep breath and stepped forward. Then, his legs suddenly moved. With his hands still firmly behind his back, Zhong Xian's entire body came crashing straight at Lin Hu. Before Lin Hu's steel fist could land on Zhong Xian, his body was already struck by the latter's body slam. Peng! Countless rocks flew into the air. Before this Lin Hu could react, he was already sent flying backward. In midair, blood spurted profusely from his mouth. Under this impact of the crash, his dantian broke apart, thus crippling his cultivation. Putong. Lin Hu flew for more than a dozen meters before landing heavily onto the floor. Then, he fell motionless, and it was impossible to tell if he was still alive. However, given that his dantian was crashed and his entire skeletal rack was fractured, even if he were to be saved, he didn't have a future before him. What? A Zongsha realm advanced expert was sent flying with a single strike? How did he do it? Everyone was dumbstruck. They thought that there would be an intense battle before a victor would emerge, and they could make use of this opportunity to gauge the strength of Guild Master Liu as well. Yet, this steel-armed tiger was already sent flying before he managed to even touch the other party. How powerful must Guild Master Liu's body be, and how fast must his reflexes get to achieve such a feat? His strength. Mo Yu was dumbfounded. She couldn't comprehend the situation before her. It was just a few days ago that Zhong Xian had reached Zongsha realm primary stage. Yet, at this moment, he sent a Zongsha realm advanced stage expert flying in a single blow. How in the world does this fellow cultivate? Teacher. The one who was the most shocked of all was Lu Chong. He wasn't just shocked, he felt frenzied. It was just a moment ago that Zhong Xian taught him the importance of using an opponent's weakness against them instead of relying on mere brute force. Yet, his teacher simply charged forward to strike his opponent with his body. Isn't there something very wrong about this? What about the weaknesses you talked about? What about technique? How was what you just did any different from me? Lin Hu. Lin Ruotian and the others didn't expect Lin Hu to be crippled in just a single attack from the other party. Their complexions immediately darkened. Even though his strength couldn't be considered as one of the top in the Lin clan, he was, by no means, weak. They had truly underestimated this fellow. Seems like he does possess some true capabilities. No wonder he's so arrogant. However, if he thinks that he can pull his weight with just a little bit of strength, he must be deluding himself. Glancing momentarily at the immobile Lin Hu, Lin Ruotian's eyes narrowed as he stared at Zhong Xian coldly. The disdain in his eyes from before disappeared without a trace. He was also capable of knocking down Lin Hu with a single crash, but he couldn't do it as easily as the other party had done. Even so, He didn't think that he was weaker than the other party. There were some people who specialized in brawling while there were some who specialized in battle techniques. Lin Ruotian happened to belong to the latter. Why, you still can't make a choice between the two. Despite having wounded Lin Hu severely, Zhongxian seemed as though he had just swatted a pesky fly. With his hands still behind his back, he chuckled lightly. Since you can't make a choice, then I'll beat you until you make up your mind. After which, he stepped forward, and his cultivation of a Zhongsha realm pinnacle expert immediately burst forth without any restraint. Chapter 384. Recognized by Wang Ying as an ex-member of the modern society, Zhongxian always thought of violence as the last resort. And from the looks of it now, he had no other choice. Since that was the case, there was no need for him to maintain his politeness. Isn't your Lin clan formidable? No one in Tianwu Kingdom means a thing to you? Since that is the case, I'll beat you all into submission. I'll let you all know that there is a type of person in this world that you can never offend. Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle? Guildmaster Liu is actually a Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle expert. No wonder he dared to challenge the Lin clan head-on. With the strength to cripple Lin Hu with a single body slam, he does have the rights to do so. Upon sensing the aura Zhongxian emanated, everyone jolted. It turned out that the other party's cultivation of Tongxian Realm primary stage was just an illusion. In truth, he was actually at Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle. With such strength, he was definitely counted as one of the top figures in Tianwu Kingdom. Mo Yu's eyes were about to pop out from her eyes. Other people didn't know Guild Master Liu's true identity, so even though they were shocked, that was just about it. After all, while it was an amazing feat for one to cultivate to Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle at 24 to 24-year-old, it wasn't completely unheard of. However, Mo Yu knew of the other party's true identity. Zhongxian. He had only reached Zhongsha Realm a few days ago, so how could he have reached the pinnacle stage in just 6 to 7 days? Every single advancement in Zhongsha Realm required a huge amount of time. It would be difficult even for a genius to reach pinnacle from primary stage without a few years of effort. Yet, to do so in a few days. She felt as though her comprehension of the entire world was collapsing, and she was on the verge of going insane. More importantly, he had reached at least the level of a 3-star apothecary, master physician, master painter, 2-star beast tamer, and 2-star master teacher. All along, she had thought that his weak spot was his cultivation. Yet, to think that he didn't lose out in that aspect as well. Mo Yu felt as though she was going insane. It was no wonder why the other party wasn't interested in her. With such talents, a much wider world was waiting for him out there. Liu Laroche is a Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle expert, even above that of Zhong Laroche. Zhao Yue and the others were shocked. When the other party had broken her sword with a single finger, she knew that the other party wasn't weak. However, she couldn't have imagined that he would be so fearsome. Zhong Laroche was only at Zhongsha Realm primary stage, yet he was at pinnacle. To be even stronger than Zhong Laroche. It was no wonder why Mu Xueqing and the others were so adamant about guarding his honor. Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle? You're indeed incredible to possess such strength at such a young age. However, that's far from enough for you to challenge our Lin clan. Clan head, allow me to teach him a lesson. Zhongxian's strength had caused the entire Lin clan to be dumbstruck. However, at this moment, an elder stepped forward. His eyes were as sharp as a knife and as cold as frost. It's Lin clan's second elder, Lin Xie. He's a Zhongsha Realm Pinnacle expert. Furthermore, he's just a step away from reaching half Zhizuan. He is ranked 4th in the 10 Great Experts rankings. Given that he's making a move personally, Liu Laroche is in trouble. The crowd narrowed their eyes once more. Liu Cheng might be formidable, but compared to the 10 great experts of the kingdom, he was still lacking significantly. These 10 were the ones who stood out among the numerous Zhongsha realm pinnacles, climbing to the very peak of strength in the kingdom. That's why he chose to use his strongest attack right from the start. I wonder how will Guild Master Liu cope with it. Upon seeing Elder Lin Xie's offense, Graveness started spreading throughout the crowd. While Lin, who was strong as well, he was far from a match to Lin Xie. Given that such an expert had used his strongest attack right from the start, even the ranked first and second Mo Tianxue and Mo Hongyi would have to deal with it cautiously. Elder Lin Xie's great split might be formidable, but this move is only a feint. His true ace is the consecutive phantom kicks. Standing by the side, Mo Tianxue said grimly. Consecutive phantom kicks. Mo Yu was taken aback by her father's words. Indeed. The great split is an attack with a downward trajectory, and the immense might behind it instinctively made one cautious toward it. However, in truth, it is just a cover for his lower body attack. Mo Tianxue explained. This consecutive kick is extremely treacherous. Back then, when I sparred with him, I nearly fell for his trick. The great split was an attack that came from above, whereas the consecutive phantom kicks was an attack that came from below. The main reason for the imposing might from the former was so as to conceal the movements below. If one wasn't aware of it in advance, even a stronger opponent could fall for it. Then, isn't Guild Master Liu in danger? Mo Yu frowned, and anxiety flashed across her face. Her father was already ranked first among the 10 great experts of the kingdom. If even he had nearly fallen for the trick, then didn't that mean that Zhongxian was in dire trouble? It's worth noting that the 10 great experts rankings only include those of Zongsha Realm Pinnacle. As Lin Ruotian had reached half Shizuan, he wasn't considered in the list. He is in danger. It all depends on whether he's able to see through it in advance and guard against it. However, in my opinion, it'll be extremely difficult for him to do so. After all, even though it may seem simple on the surface, it is actually quite ineffective. The heck? Recalling how frightening the move was, Mo Tianxue shook his head and expressed his doubts. However, before he could finish his words, he suddenly froze. He was on the verge of having his final string of sanity snapped. What? What is this? Mo Yu also hurriedly looked at the fight, and the sight she saw made her freeze as well. For a moment, her mind went blank. Before Elder Lin Xie's powerful great split could strike Zhongxian, he was already sent flying by a single kick from Zhongxian. At this moment, he was already convulsing on the floor. His injuries were all too similar to the third elder's. A certain essential organ had exploded. With a single kick, it exploded. Lin Xie didn't even get the chance to react before he was kicked. How in the world did the other party do it? No matter what, the other party was the fourth strongest expert among the Zongsha Realm Pinnacle cultivators in the kingdom. Upon seeing the sight, the crowd suddenly felt a chill within their pants, and cold sweat dripped profusely from their forehead. They had clearly heard the crisp sound of an egg shattering just now. From the looks of it, this famous elder Lin Xie was probably completely crippled. He had probably lost his functionality as a man. I already told you that you aren't sufficient, but you refused to listen. Disregarding everyone's shock, Zhongxian shook his head. The other party's combination of great split and consecutive phantom kicks was a deadly combo, and it would be difficult for any other Zongsha Realm Pinnacle to avoid it. However, Zhongxian possessed the eye of insight. Before the other party could make his move, he had already seen through it and counterattacked in advance. Putting aside the fact that the other party's strength was inferior to him, even if he was an equal, how could he possibly withstand Zhongxian's preemptive strike? This is Heaven's Path leg art? Wang Ying was taken aback. When her teacher had imparted her this leg art, he had allowed her to come up with her own name. Eventually, she decided to follow by the name her teacher came up with and addressed it as Heaven's Path leg art. This leg art was created by her teacher, and it was only imparted to her. How could this Liu Larosha know of it too? Wang Ying, what's wrong? What did you say? Hearing Wang Ying's muttering, Zhao Wei glanced at her doubtfully. No, nothing. With a reddened face, Wang Ying hurriedly shook her head. Liu Larosha had moved too quickly just now, and she had barely caught a glimpse of it, so she wasn't too sure. Thus, she didn't dare to speak of it yet. Since you all aren't willing to make a move together, then I will. Seeing that everyone had been shocked by that single kick of his, Zhongxian harumphed softly. Then, with a swift movement, he suddenly appeared amidst the Lin clan members. He was so fast that it seemed as though it was teleportation. Before the elders could take a good look, he had already appeared before them. Peng 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 peng. The sound of fists sinking into flesh and slaps striking faces sounded. Screams of agony filled the surroundings. Before Lin Ruotian could react, the dozen or so elders beside him were sent flying at the same time. Falling to the ground, all of them either fell motionless or convulsed vigorously. In any case, none of them were capable of fighting anymore. Heaven's path. Movement art. This time, Wang Ying caught Liu Laosh's movement clearly, and her breathing hastened and her face flushed deep red. She wasn't too sure with the Heaven's Path leg art, but there was no doubt about it. This movement art was Heaven's Path movement art. Why in the world was Liu Laosha capable of executing the Heaven's Path movement art created by Zhong Laosha? Could it be? A possibility appeared in Wang Ying's mind, and her slender body trembled vigorously. Slowly, her face turned paler and paler, to the point that it was no different from a sheet of paper. It was after Zhong Laosha left that Liu Laosha appeared. And after Liu Laosha appeared, Zhong Laosha had never appeared again. All along, they had trusted the words of the master-teacher pavilion that he had gone for some test. Could it be that he had assumed the identity of Liu Laosha to take on the role of a teacher at Tianwu Academy? If that was true, then Mu Xueqing was his student as well? Then Zhao Ya and Mu Xueqing's duel. It was no wonder why he stopped their duel that day, saying that they were being preposterous. It must be that he was unhappy seeing his students fight with one another. He wasn't oppressing them with his capacity as a teacher. Wang Ying's body turned cold. The poison. At this moment, she suddenly recalled she sneaked into Liu Laosha's classroom with Yuan Dao and Liu Yang to poison his drinking tools, and her face twitched. At this moment, she truly felt like crying. If Liu Laosha was truly Zhong Laosha, then their act of poisoning him. That was completely an unpardonable crime. What the heck was this? To think that she played along with Yuan Dao and Liu Yang and attempted to poison Zhong Laosha. Until now, they still didn't know whether Zhong Laosha fell for the poison or not. If he really fell for it, then how could they face him in the future? Their teacher had treated them earnestly, yet all they had been trying to do was to do him in return. What's wrong? Seeing Wang Ying's slightly scrunched face, Zhao Ya asked worriedly. It's nothing. Wang Ying hesitated for a moment, but she eventually closed her mouth, deciding against revealing her conjecture. What would happen to Zhao Ya, Yuan Dao, and the others if she told them about it? How would they react? At this moment, she felt so distressed and lost. Teacher. Wang Ying was at a complete loss. On the other hand, Lu Chong, who was standing behind Zhong Xian, had his eyes widened to the brim, and he was on the verge of going insane. When he saw his teacher shattering the third elder's eggs with a single kick, he knew that he must be formidable. At the very least, he should be stronger than him. Yet, never in his dreams did he expect that he was so much stronger. Single-handedly, in less than 2 breaths, he rendered more than a dozen elders of the Lin clan powerless. How did he do it? Even a half-Zhizuan would be incapable of doing it to this extent. If he knew that his teacher was that incredible, he wouldn't have hidden the matter from him. Yo-yu. While Lu Chong was overwhelmed with shock, Lin Ruotian was about to go mad. The reason why the Lin clan was able to dominate the entire Tianwu royal city wasn't just because of his strength as an individual, but because of the immense strength that each of these elder wielded. Initially, he thought that given how the other party was just a mere Zongsha realm pinnacle, the crowd would be more than sufficient to subdue him. Yet, to think that in the blink of an eye, all of the elders he had brought out would be either crippled or severely injured. What in the world was this? Liu Cheng, die. Roaring furiously, Lin Ruotian could no longer suppress his rage. He raised his palm and struck straight at Zhong Xian. Chapter 385, Zhao Ya, your sword. Huala. Might gushed out from his palm in the form of a blinding radiance, heading straight for Zhong Xian. Zhizuan realm, otherwise known as the 10,000 Ding realm, was the final realm of the 9 dans of fighters. At this realm, one's physical body and zhenqi would reach the very limits of a mortal, and the strength that one possessed would be unmatched by any Zongsha. Lin Ruotian was only a half Zhizuan, but the strength he wielded was reminiscent of a huge river, ceaseless and overwhelming. Before his attack could reach Zhongxian, the zhenqi he emanated had already reduced the surface of the stone floor to dust, as though a massive whip striking ceaselessly on it. Having driven the zhenqi in his body to the maximum capacity, a shrill call, similar to a whistle, sounded in the air. Harmonization of breath and blood, emanation of zhenqi. This is the distinctive trait of one who is about to reach Jizuan realm. Mo Tianxue's face paled. He was the #1 expert among the Zhongsha realm pinnacle in Tianwu Kingdom, and he had a deep understanding of the Jizuan realm. It was said that those who had reached that level would possess blood as thick as mercury, and when one drove one's zhenqi, the call of a whistle would sound in the air. All along, he thought that Lin Ruotian, who had achieved a breakthrough with Shenyuan Kingdom's help, would possess an unstable cultivation, making him of little threat. But upon seeing this sight, he realized that he couldn't be any more wrong. The other party's strength could be considered to be at the top even among the half-Jizuns. Under his current state, there was a possibility of him breaking through the final barrier at any moment to reach the pinnacle of the fighter realm. It was no wonder why he, despite possessing the cultivation of half-Jizuan realm and the backing of Shenyuan Kingdom, chose to poison the guardian beast secretly. It wasn't that he was afraid of the vengeance from Tianwu royal family, but that he wanted to confuse them. By the time he reached Jizuan realm, he would be able to crush all that stood in his way in Tianwu Kingdom easily. Even the master-teacher pavilion would be helpless before him then. If guild leader Liu hadn't forced him to show his hand, he could have taken that final step within several months. By then, he could simply openly demand the throne and no one would be able to stop him. Scary. Cold sweat drenched Mo Tianxue's back, and he trembled in fear. If not for this guild leader Liu charging straight at Lin Ruotian, Mo Tianxue would never have discovered this secret. It was laughable how he thought that as long as the guardian beast managed to survive, the other party wouldn't dare to make a move. Guild leader Liu won't be a match for him. Amidst his fright, he was filled with worry for the latter. Guild leader Liu might be powerful even among Zhongsha realm pinnacle experts, but he was still lacking in comparison to experts of Lin Ruotian's caliber. Putting everything aside, just in terms of strength, Lin Ruotian should have already reached 9,000 ding. That would be more than sufficient for him to subdue guild leader Liu. Thinking so, he returned his attention to the duo's duel. Incredible. Facing Lin Ruotian's might face-on, Zhongxian's face turned grave. At Zhongsha realm pinnacle, his strength had risen to 5,000 ding, making him on par with an ordinary half-Jizuan. However, Lin Ruotian had reached the peak of half-Jizuan realm, making him a difficult opponent for Zhongxian. At the first encounter, Zhongxian could already feel heavy pressure from the other party's might. The other party's zhenqi gushed at him as though a burst dam, and he couldn't avoid it even if he wanted to. Thus, he could only forcefully face it head-on. Deng 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 deng. Retreating 7 to 8 steps backward, Zhongxian's internals were slightly rattled under the immense force. Even though Zhongxian knew that he was at a blatant disadvantage, he didn't panic. Instead, a slight radiance glowed from his eyes, and lines of insight energy slowly drifted into appearance. Eye of insight. But soon, Zhongxian frowned and shook his head in frustration. The gift from becoming a celestial master teacher was formidable, allowing him to peer into the flaws of a cultivator, but it came with a fatal flaw. The effects of the Eye of Insight were limited by the cultivation of its user. In other words, the Eye of Insight couldn't perceive the flaws of those stronger than him, making it completely useless against Lin Ruotian. Forget it. Flaws. Upon realizing that his newly earned talent was useless here, he immediately turned his eyes to his other gift. Who? His mind jolted, and a book appeared in the library of Heaven's Path. He quickly browsed through the book. A moment later, a slight smile crept onto his lips. No wonder his body feels so energetic, he consumed the blood of a spirit beast. Different from the Eye of Insight, the Library of Heaven's Path could perceive the flaws in all cultivators, regardless of how high their cultivation was, as long as they displayed their battle technique before Zhongxian. The strength, battle technique, and cultivation technique of the head of the Lin clan was recorded in detail in the book. The reason why he was able to achieve a breakthrough so quickly and achieve such overwhelming strength wasn't because he consumed some formidable pill, but because of the essence blood of a spirit beast. Spirit beast was an existence above that of savage beast. Even the weakest spirit beast possessed strength surpassing that of a Jesuan realm. A drop of blood essence from this powerful lifeform could potentially induce a bloodline evolution in a half-Jesuan savage beast, allowing it to successfully reach Jesuan realm. It was through this that Lin Ruotian managed to reach half-Jesuan from Zhongsha realm pinnacle. On top of that, under the effects of the blood essence, his Zhenqi became violent as though a feral beast, and it felt ceaseless as though a river flowing relentlessly. How can I defeat him? Many of the other party's flaws were recorded in the Library of Heaven's Path, but not only was the other party's stamina way above that of his violent-natured Zhenqi made it difficult to get close, needless to say, injure him. Upon crossing blows with an expert of this level, Zhong Xian suddenly realized that he was lacking in battle techniques too much. Against those who were stronger than him, his disadvantage became apparent. Be it Heaven's Path fist art or Heaven's Path movement art. All of them were centered around subduing one's enemy in a single blow. His moves could work wonders in close quarters, but if he couldn't approach the other party, it would all be for naught. On top of that, under the nourishment of the spirit beast blood essence, Lin Ruotian's defense had become as strong as a savage beast. It was another question whether Zhong Xian would be able to defeat him even if he were to close in on him. Perhaps, even when Zhong Xian's Zhenqi was sapped dry, he would only be able to injure the other party. Killing him seemed nigh impossible. In the end, the Heaven's Path battle techniques sapped one's physical stamina and Zhenqi tremendously. Even though Zhong Xian had reached Zhongsha realm pinnacle, he was still severely limited by this flaw. Forget it, I won't use the Heaven's Path battle techniques for now. I don't believe that he can sustain his battle state for too long. Having seen through all of the other party's battle techniques through the Library of Heaven's Path, while it would be difficult for Zhong Xian to subdue Lin Ruotian in a single blow, it was completely impossible for the other party to wound him as well. At most, he just had to slowly grind away at his opponent. Even if he had consumed the spirit beast blood essence and reached half-Jesuan, he didn't possess endless stamina. As Zhong Xian's thoughts were flying about the place, Lin Ruotian felt so stifled that he could spurt blood. The youngster's movements were bizarre and swift. The reason why he blasted his Zhenqi out as soon as he made a move was simple. It was to prevent the other party from getting close to him and to hinder his movements. Initially, he thought that under his powerful offense, no matter how strong the other party could be, it would be impossible for him to hold on for too long. Yet, he couldn't have imagined that. The other party was as slippery as a loach. It seemed as though he knew of the flaws in his movements and cultivation technique in advance, and with very slight movements, he easily stepped into the blind spots of his offense. His violent strength splashed at the surroundings, destroying the stone floor and blasting the air, but he couldn't even touch a single hair on the other party. In fact, even the emanation of his raging Zhenqi failed to touch a hair on the other party. Instead of fighting, that fellow seemed as though he was on a vacation. All of Lin Ruotian's feints and sudden twists were completely useless. All of those traps that any other cultivators would have fallen for was totally ineffective on him. Every single movement of the other party seemed to be well calculated, causing all of Lin Ruotian's attacks to fall empty. It was as though grabbing onto a massive chopper and trying to hack at the only party, only to miss by several millimeters each time. Putting aside how the other party wasn't injured in the slightest, Lin Ruotian was already about to puke blood from exhaustion and frustration. Is this a game to you? We are fighting a life and death battle here. We have already crossed over 100 blows, yet we haven't even touched the corners of each other's clothes yet. What the heck are you up to? Are the two of them really fighting? Why doesn't it seem like it? While Lin Ruotian was on the verge of going into a frenzy, the crowd was struck dumb by the sight. In a usual fight, two cultivators would collide with one another and cross blows. Even if the weaker side could hold on, it wouldn't be able to hold on for too long, especially when there was a huge disparity in strength. But the heck, what was wrong with these two? No matter how they looked at it, it didn't seem like those two were fighting, but dancing. Most of the time, before Lin Ruotian could make a move, Guildmaster Liu would have jumped to the side and look at the other party idly. Then, following soon after, the former's attack would land on the spot where the latter was standing before. In other words, even though Lin Ruotian was conducting the offense, in the eyes of the crowd, it seemed as though he was attacking wherever Guildmaster Liu was jumping from, as though Guildmaster Liu was leading him on to retreat and advance with such harmony. Even professional dancers don't have such synergy. Could it be that the duo had already known each other, and they were familiar with the fighting methods of one another? But that couldn't be it. Seeing how Lin Ruotian was ready to bite at the other party at any moment, it was impossible for him to be so bored as to intentionally perform such a show before everyone else. It's Guildmaster Liu who is seeing through Lin Ruotian's movements in advance and messing with the other party's tempo, Principal Xie said with a grim look. Given that a teacher of their academy was wreaking havoc at the Lin clan, he had no choice but to rush over upon hearing the news. However, as soon as he arrived, this show immediately appeared before him, and a dizzy spell immediately struck him then. To see through the other party's movements and evade to a safe zone before he could launch his offense, rendering the other party's raging might to fall empty. How in the world did he do it? Even 3-star master teachers didn't possess such fearsome abilities, unless this Guildmaster Liu was Lin Ruotian's father or teacher, and was well versed in his offense. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to make such precise judgment. But how could Guildmaster Liu be Lin Ruotian's father or teacher? This matter was completely impossible. He knew that Guildmaster Liu was a talented person, and bizarre matters seemed to shroud around him, but he didn't think that it would be to this extent. To force the attacks of a stronger opponent to fall empty each time, regardless of how profound the movements were. Just the thought of it made his head go blank. Do you dare to face me head-on? Lin Ruotian bellowed. He was on the verge of exploding. The more he fought, the more frustrated he got. A head-on battle? Isn't that what we're doing now? Zhongxian said leisurely as he continued dodging. You attack while I evade, I advance while you retreat. Since you've been facing me all this while, how is this not a head-on battle? Upon hearing those words, Lin Ruotian nearly spurted a mouthful of blood. He knew that if he were to continue arguing with the other party, he would definitely die of anger before the other party could do anything. Thus, flicking his wrist, a sword appeared in his hands. Then, with a slight jerk, ripples appeared in the air, as though a paper had been cut apart. Do you dare to face me in a weapon duel then? Weapon? Sure. Zhongxian was frozen for a moment before the edges of his lips curved up. Glancing backward, he chuckled, Zhao Wei, your sword. Chapter 386. Hallmaster, save me. Zhongxian had no weapons in his storage ring, and he gave the one which the elder of the Beast Hall gifted him to Zhao Wei. Since the other party had taken out his weapon, Zhongxian immediately turned to the lady and shouted, Sword! Zhao Wei hesitated for a moment, but eventually, she still took out her sword and threw it straight toward Liu Larosha. She didn't know why Liu Larosha would ask to borrow her sword, but since she was here to help him, she didn't think too much about it. Voila! As soon as the sword was unsheathed, a cold light immediately shot out into the surroundings. In an instant, Zhongxian's disposition immediately changed. For a moment, it seemed as though he had fused together with the sword in his hand, and his aura blasted straight into the heavens, threatening to slice even the blue sky apart. Ding 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 ding. Suddenly, all of the swords in the surroundings released a crisp buzz, as though greeting their sovereign. The buzzing harmonized together to form a pleasant and bright melody. Call of the myriad swords. This is the realm beyond that of sword intent, sword heart. Despite being in his 20s, Guildmaster Liu has comprehended sword heart. How did he do it? Everyone trembled violently in shock, and all gazes were immediately fixed on Zhongxian. Weapon intent was only the start of a long path for those specializing in weapons. Those who had reached a higher level could comprehend the heart of weapons. Sword heart was the crystallization of one's deep comprehension in swordsmanship, and even experts who had transcended Jizuan were unable to reach that level easily. Yet, it had appeared from a Zongsha realm pinnacle youngster at this moment, so how could they not be shocked? Sword heart, moving one's sword with one's heart, turning the tides with one's will. Every single movement is a sword art. Having comprehended such a state, there wasn't a single sword user who could match him at his cultivation realm. No, it isn't sword heart. At this moment, Pavilion Master Jiang arrived and he shook his head. Others might not know Guild Master Liu's true identity, but he was well aware of it. Given the talents Zhongxian had displayed, if he were to allow Zhongxian were to be killed by the Lin clan, the Master Teacher Pavilion headquarter would definitely slaughter him. Thus, he rushed here as soon as he heard the news. However, seeing that Zhongxian had the upper hand, he decided to watch by the side. No. Elder Zhu asked doubtfully. Call of the myriad swords, roar of the dragons, that was the distinctive trait of one who had comprehended sword heart. If that wasn't it, what else could it be? Depending on how deep one's understanding is, there are 3 levels to sword heart: primary, intermediate, and advanced. One who has comprehended sword heart will be capable of nourishing spirit into a sword, allowing it to harmonize with one, making it an extension of one's limbs in the truest sense. Even though Zhongshe has managed to induce the call of the myriad swords, he has only managed to stir the aura of the swords. He hasn't completely grasped the spirit of the sword yet. Pavilion Master Jiang explained. Sword heart was a realm, as well as a state. It represented the spirit and heart within a sword. Even though Zhongxian's level of comprehension towards swords was outstanding, going to the extent of even inducing the call of the myriad swords, his understanding of spirit was still too lacking. In fact, he hadn't even come into contact with it yet, so naturally, he couldn't be considered to have completely stepped into the level of sword heart. Then, this is. After hearing Pavilion Master Jiang's explanation, Elder Zhu asked doubtfully. If this wasn't sword heart realm, then what could this be considered as? It's partial sword heart realm, Pavilion Master Jiang answered with a grim expression. He has comprehended sword heart, but due to the limitations of his cultivation, he is still unable to grasp the idea of spirit completely. As long as he achieves a breakthrough in his cultivation, it's just a matter of time before he comprehends it. By then, he would be invincible among sword users. However, to reach partial heart realm despite not knowing what spirit is. How in the world did he do it? Even though Zhongxian hadn't fully stepped into the level of sword heart, just reaching partial heart realm was sufficient to fill Pavilion Master Jiang with astonishment. Many of the experts that had transcended Jizuan had spent their days observing and researching, only to be kept out of the entrance of the sword heart realm. Yet, this fellow who didn't even know what spirit was to the extent of not even owning his own sword, was able to reach this realm. Just the thought of it was sufficient to send one into a breakdown. If those who specially researched swordsmanship but were unable to achieve a breakthrough in their entire life were to learn of it, would they die from frustration on the spot? Such powerful sword intent. Zhao Wei didn't know what sword heart was, but the sword intent that flurried from Liu Laosha made her body tremble instinctively. It felt as though a pressure was pushing down on her, leaving her devoid of the courage to even draw her sword. The intimidation from a far stronger sword intent. Those who possessed deeper understanding of sword intent could suppress those with a weaker understanding with their disposition. Suggesting the use of weapons is the most foolish decision you have made in your life. Grasping the sword in his hand tightly, Zhongxian chuckled. Heaven's Path fist art and Heaven's Path leg art only consisted of a single movement, and it could only be executed in close quarters. However, Heaven's Path sword art was different. Having comprehended sword intent, every single move one made was a sword art in itself. Previously, when crossing hands with the other party, due to the might from the other party's zhenqi, Zhongxian was unable to attack easily, so he could only dodge continuously. However, with a sword in his hand, the situation had changed. He could fight with the other party on the same footing now. Voila! With a slight jerk, the glint of a sword shot across the air, and a radiant sword emanation shot out straight toward Lin Ruotian. What? Cried Lin Ruotian. The other party had been dodging his attacks before, causing all of his attacks to fall flat. He thought that using a weapon could widen the range of his attacks, making it more difficult for the other party to dodge, thus forcing him up a corner. How could he have known that the other party would have comprehended the heart of weapons? The heck? How could he match up to that? Even though his cultivation had reached half Jizuan, his comprehension of the sword hadn't even reached sword intent, needless to say, sword heart. With an awful expression, his body immediately scrunched together to avoid the other party's sword chi. Just as he was about to counterattack, he saw another white light flying straight toward his neck. The heck? Sensing the killing intent imbued into the attack, he knew that his neck would be severed if he were to face it head-on. Thus, without any hesitation, he immediately rolled away. Voila! The sword chi struck the ground and a deep gorge appeared. Rock fragments and dust flew in the air. Damn it! To think that a half-Jizuan expert like himself would be forced to roll to avoid an attack. Lin Ruotian's rage bubbled within. In the midst of his roll, his hand struck the ground to provide him momentum to leap up, but at that very moment, his hair stood on ends, and he instinctively rolled forward. Zila! A deep gorge appeared at where he was originally at. Having comprehended sword intent, one would be able to produce an emanation of one's sword and zhenqi in the form of sword chi. Sword chi was incomparably sharp and indestructible by those of a similar cultivation realm. Even though Lin Ruotian was a half-Jizuan expert, he was still unable to withstand the might of it. Previously, he was able to force the other party to keep a distance through his deep and powerful zhenqi. However, before the sharp sword chi, this technique became completely useless. If he were to try to do so, he would simply be cut through in the next instant. Liu Cheng, you. Forced to roll twice consecutively, Lin Ruotian was anxious and furious. He roared furiously, but before he could do anything, another sword chi came flying straight toward him. Sila. This time, his reaction was a little slow. Feeling a slight chill, his loose robe was torn apart from the middle, and a few strands of his hair fell to the floor. Sensing the bone-piercing chill from the sword chi, he knew that his guts would be cut through if he were a moment slower. Knowing that this wasn't the time to speak, he continued rolling about. This is truly weird. In terms of fist art, Liu Laroche could only dodge continuously, helpless before Guildmaster Lin. But in terms of sword, clan head Lin couldn't even stand on his own 2 feet, forced to roll around the area. The Lin clan is reputed for its swordsmanship, and the head of the Lin clan is a famous swordmaster in the kingdom. And Guildmaster Liu, as a physician and a normal teacher, doesn't even own a sword. Yet, to think that the swordmaster is more skilled in fist art, and the swordless physician is more adept in swordsmanship. What in the world is this? Staring at one another, everyone was dumbstruck at the sight before them. The Lin clan possessed a heritage of over several centuries in swordsmanship, and it stood at the very pinnacle of the field in Tianwu Kingdom. Everyone thought that Guildmaster Liu would lose tragically upon seeing clan head Lin taking out his sword. No one could have imagined that there would be such a twist. To think that the swordmaster Lin Ruotian would be forced to roll around the field, unable to retaliate at all. Wasn't he way too weak? It isn't clan head Lin who is weak, it's that Guildmaster Liu is too strong. A grave expression sat on Principal Liu's face. Under normal circumstances, even if he comprehended sword intent and sword heart, his cultivation is still only at Zhongsha realm pinnacle. It should have been impossible for him to throw out sword chi one after another. On top of that, sword chi also has a maximum range. The further the attack, the greater the expenditure of one's zhenqi. A few elders of Tianwu Academy nodded in agreement. Sword chi was the emanation of zhenqi. The further the attack, the greater the dissipation. Putting aside the weaker might of the attack, it took a huge toll on one's zhenqi as well. Look, despite having thrown so many attacks, his sword chi still remains radiant and powerful, causing clan head Lin to be completely helpless before it. This shows that his zhenqi is incomparably dense and pure. Principal Xie continued explaining, only when one's zhenqi reaches a certain level of density can one execute sword chi continuously without fearing it running dry. Only when one's zhenqi reaches a certain level of purity will one be able to prevent one's zhenqi from dissipating in midair, thus maintaining its might. Indeed. The crowd nodded. While the crowd was dumbstruck by the sight before them, Zhongxian's sword was dancing in the air. Clan head Lin, didn't you say that you want to compete with me in a weapon duel? What do you mean by rolling around on the floor? Bellowing loudly, Zhongxian declared righteously. Do you dare to face me head-on? Pu. Hearing those words, Lin Ruotian's anger clouded over his mind for a moment, causing him to be struck by a sword chi. A mouthful of blood immediately spurted from his mouth. Madness. This was what he'd said a moment ago. To think that the fellow would bring it up at this moment. Face you head-on? To the hell with that. I don't even have the strength to withstand your sword chi, how can I face you head-on? With his fist, he was still able to force the other party to dodge continuously, not daring to face him head-on. Why did he have to suggest the usage of weapon? In the end, he only made a mockery of himself. For the number one expert of Qianwu Kingdom, a half-Jizuan expert, to be forced to roll around the floor. Hall Master Liao and the Great Herb King, hurry up and make a move. As long as you kill this fellow, I'll agree to any request of yours, and I'll even double it at that. After a moment longer, Lin Ruotian realized that if this continued on, it would just be a matter of time before he was killed by the other party's sword chi. Unable to hold it in any longer, he immediately bellowed. The elders in the clan were already crippled, so his final hope was on Hall Master Liao and the Great Herb King. As the master of the Poison Hall, Liao Zun was a poison expert which granted him the ability to kill even experts above his level. Before him, Guild Master Liu's sword chi would be completely useless. All right, remember your words. I'll settle things with this man for you. Hearing the other party's promise, Liao Zun nodded in satisfaction and walked out. Hall Master Liao? Great Herb King? Could they be the Red Lotus City's Great Herb King and the Poison Hall's Hall Master Liao Zun? Someone suddenly shouted, and everyone's faces turned pale. A commotion broke out. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.